By the time the car appeared between the hemlocks, Evelyn had been sitting on the cabin porch for nearly 3 hours, wrapped in a faded curtain she had pulled down from the front window. It was not a good curtain. It smelled like dust and mouse droppings, and the orange flowers printed on it had once been yellow. But evening had settled cold among the trees, the water pump would not start, and the porch step had given way under her left foot when she arrived. Her chest still hurt if she breathed too deeply. The dark sedan crawled over the rutted lane and stopped beside the woodpile. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then the rear door opened. A metal walker appeared first, pushed out by a driver in blue scrubs. After it came one brown shoe, then the other, and finally Frank, bent forward beneath the cabin's crooked porch light. He had a duffel bag over one shoulder. In his right hand, swinging as if it were precious, was their old aluminum coffee pot. He saw Evelyn in the curtain. His mouth fell open. Then he laughed. He laughed so hard he had to catch himself against the car door, and Evelyn started laughing too, though it tore at her lungs and turned almost immediately into something else. 31 days earlier, Evelyn had been sitting at the kitchen table in their rented house outside Pittsburgh, trying to make $11,000 disappear, not steal it. Karen had not embezzled anything, despite what the columns on the spreadsheet appeared determined to suggest. The missing $11,000 was distributed among mileage, food purchases, equipment rentals, deposits entered twice, and several cash payments Karen had recorded on the backs of catering menus. Evelyn held one menu toward the lamp. $280, she read aloud, or $230, or possibly don't forget dill. From the living room, Frank said, "Looks like $280 to me. You're 12 feet away. I've always had good eyes. You asked me this morning if the blue dish towel was a pair of pants. That was before coffee. The house was too warm, even with every blind closed. Their window air conditioner rattled like a shopping cart with a bad wheel, pushing out air that was technically cooler than the room, but not cool enough to brag about. A box fan blew across the table, lifting the corners of Karen's receipts. Evelyn had weighted them with a salt shaker, Frank's reading glasses, and a ceramic frog that held toothpicks through holes in its back. She wore an old cotton nightgown, even though it was barely 7. Her skin felt tender. When she coughed, she pressed a folded dish towel against her ribs and waited for the ache to pass. Frank came into the kitchen carrying 2 glasses of water. He moved carefully when he thought she was watching, and too quickly when he thought she wasn't. The tremor was worse in his left hand that evening. Water trembled over the rim and spotted the floor. "You need to quit," he said. "So do you. I already retired. You retired from being paid." He set her glass beside the laptop. "Karen can hire somebody to do this. Karen can't afford somebody who understands her filing system. Nobody understands her filing system. I think that's the system." Evelyn smiled despite herself. Frank lowered himself into the chair across from her, bracing one hand on the table. His face was sun-reddened, and the collar of his work shirt was dark with sweat. She looked at him properly then. "You said you were going to Tom's to look at the air conditioner. I looked at it. You look like you wrestled it. It put up a fight. Did you take your 4 o'clock pill?" Frank's eyes shifted toward the toothpick frog. "Frank, I was on a ladder. That is not an answer to the question I asked. I wasn't very high. That is an answer to a much worse question." He reached for the water. His hand shook hard enough to knock the glass against his front tooth. Evelyn closed the laptop. "Did Tom put you on that ladder?" Tom wasn't there. That was worse too. Tom had called shortly after breakfast. His voice had carried through the phone because Frank kept the volume high, though he insisted his hearing was fine. One of the rental units he owned had lost air conditioning during the hottest week of the year. The repair company could not come until Monday. Frank had said he would take a look. Evelyn had stood in the doorway, shaking her head. Frank had waved her away. After the call, he had said, "I'm just diagnosing it. Diagnose it from the ground. That isn't how machines work. That's how gravity works." Now, 10 hours later, he had returned with a scrape on his forearm and a grayness beneath his tan. Evelyn pushed her chair back. "We're calling the nurse line." "We are not. I wasn't asking. You sound awful yourself." "I have a summer cold." "You don't get summer colds. You get pneumonia and call it a tickle until somebody takes your shoes away. I've had pneumonia once. Twice. The second time was bronchitis. The second time was denial." She stood, and the room tipped so suddenly that she grabbed the edge of the table. Frank's teasing vanished. "Evie?" I stood too fast. You stood regular, then I'll sit regular. But she missed the chair. There was no dramatic crash, only the soft bump of her shoulder against the cabinet and the gritty coolness of linoleum against her cheek. Somewhere above her, Frank said her name again. A chair scraped. The ceramic frog struck the floor and broke cleanly through the middle. Evelyn tried to tell him not to bend down. The words came out tangled in a cough. Frank made it 2 steps. His knee seemed to fold under him. He caught the counter, swung sideways, and landed hard against the refrigerator. Magnets and takeout menus rained around him. The freezer door fell open. A bag of peas slid onto the floor between them. For a strange moment, they stared at each other from opposite sides of the kitchen. Frank said, "Don't you start." Evelyn began to laugh. It hurt terribly, which made it funnier. Frank laughed too, once before his face tightened. "We're a hell of a rescue team," he said. The phone was on the table, 6 feet away. Frank tried to rise. Evelyn told him not to. He told her not to talk. They argued in short, breathless pieces until a sharp knock sounded at the front door. "Mom," Karen called. Evelyn closed her eyes. "Kitchen," Frank shouted. Karen came in carrying a cardboard bakery box and stopped so abruptly that the screen door slapped against her shoulder. She was 52, broad-shouldered like Evelyn's father. With dark hair she cut herself whenever it annoyed her. A streak of flour crossed the front of her black blouse. She looked at the broken frog, the peas, Frank on the floor, and Evelyn curled beneath the sink. The bakery box slipped from her hands. What happened? Frank pointed toward Evelyn. She fell. Evelyn pointed toward Frank. He fell. Karen's face went colorless. "Oh my God." "We're all right," Evelyn said. Karen stepped over the peas and crouched beside her. "You're burning up. It's warm in here. Mom, stop it." That was the moment everything changed, though it did not feel like it yet. It felt like Karen using the firm voice she reserved for incompetent employees and stubborn delivery drivers. It felt like Frank complaining when she called 911. It felt like Evelyn trying to sit up and discovering that her body had become something heavy she had been assigned to carry. At the hospital, the night divided them. A nurse took Frank for scans because he had hit his shoulder and might have struck his head. Evelyn was given oxygen, antibiotics, and a room with a curtain the color of oatmeal. Karen sat beside her bed, answering messages from both her catering staff and Tom, sometimes responding to the wrong person. At 1 in the morning, Evelyn woke to hear Karen whispering near the window. "No, Tom, I'm not blaming him. I said neither one of them should have been doing what they were doing." A pause. "No. She was doing my books." Another pause, longer this time. "I know what that sounds like." Evelyn opened her eyes. "It sounds like I was doing your books." Karen turned. "I have to call you back. Tell Tom his father's first question was whether the air conditioner started. It didn't. That'll upset him more than the fall." Karen ended the call and came to the bed. Up close, she looked older than she had that morning. The grooves around her mouth were deeper, and flour remained in the seam of one sleeve. "The doctor says pneumonia. He enjoys attention. He says you'll be here at least 3 days. That seems excessive." And then, rehab. Evelyn looked toward the wall as if somebody more sensible might be standing there. "For pneumonia? For your strength. Your oxygen. You can barely walk to the bathroom. I had a bad evening. You were on the floor. So was Frank. Is he going to rehab? Tom's with him now. That isn't what I asked." Karen dragged the visitor's chair closer. Its metal legs squealed against the tile. "Frank's dehydrated. He missed medication, maybe more than 1 dose. The neurologist wants his routine monitored for a while." "For a while," Evelyn repeated. "Just until you're both steady." "We have a routine." Karen stared at her. It was not a cruel stare. That made it more difficult to resist. There was love in it, and fatigue, and the raw picture of the kitchen floor that Karen would probably carry for the rest of her life. Evelyn reached out. Karen took her hand immediately. "I should have come sooner," Karen said. "You came when you came. I knew you were sick yesterday. I said I was tired. You always say tired when you mean sick. That's because sick gets everybody worked up. Maybe everybody needs to get worked up." Evelyn rubbed her thumb across Karen's knuckles. "Your tasting went well?" Karen let out an unbelieving little laugh. "You're in oxygen and asking about canapes. They were tartlets. I don't care if they were bald eagles and pastry." "So, it did not go well. It went fine." "Good." Karen bowed her head. For a minute, neither spoke. Down the hall, a machine chimed until someone silenced it. A cart rolled past with one squeaky wheel. Then Karen said, "Tom found a place near him that can take Frank right away." Evelyn's hand went still. "And there's a rehabilitation center 15 minutes from me," Karen continued quickly. "It's supposed to be excellent. Private room, respiratory therapy, everything. We can get you in as soon as the hospital discharges you, near you, for a few weeks. And Frank near Tom. Only while you need different kinds of care, 90 miles apart." Karen squeezed her hand. "Mom, this is not forever." The next afternoon, Frank called from his hospital room. His voice sounded slow but clear. "Tom says they've got a room for me Thursday. Karen says mine has a garden. Mine has a movie theater. You hate movies with other people. I hate other people talking during movies. You talk during movies. I explain them. You predict the ending incorrectly. That's still a form of participation." She smiled into the phone, then pressed her lips together so Karen, seated by the window, would not see them shake. Frank lowered his voice. "You all right with this?" "No, me neither. It's temporary. That's what Tom says. That's what Karen says." They were quiet. Evelyn could hear hospital sounds on his end too, proof that he was somewhere real but unreachable. Rubber soles, a door closing, someone asking whether he had finished his gelatin. Frank said, "We've done harder things. Yes. We'll behave ourselves. Get strong. Let them fuss. Then we go home." "Then we go home," he agreed. On Thursday, 2 transport vans left the hospital complex within 20 minutes of each other. Evelyn watched Frank's van turn east while hers turned west. Through the tinted rear window, she saw his pale hand raised against the glass. She raised hers. Karen, sitting beside her, said, "A few weeks, Mom. That's all." Evelyn kept her hand lifted long after Frank's van disappeared. The rehabilitation center had a brick entrance, 3 hanging baskets of petunias, and a brass plaque announcing that it had been voted among the region's best for transitional recovery. Evelyn read the plaque twice while the driver unfolded her wheelchair. "Transitional," she said. The driver glanced at the plaque. "Ma'am, nothing. I like a place that puts its promises in metal." Karen came around from the other side of the van. "You're not supposed to be sarcastic when you need oxygen. I've never heard that from a doctor." Inside, the air smelled of lemon cleaner and cooked carrots. A television mounted above the reception desk showed a home renovation program with the sound off. 2 women in matching blue polo shirts welcomed Evelyn by name. One took her temperature while the other handed Karen a clipboard. Evelyn intercepted it. "I signed for myself." The woman did not hesitate. "Of course." Karen's fingers remained on the bottom edge for 1 second too long before she released it. There were 18 pages. Evelyn initialed statements about medication, meals, laundry, emergency transport, photography, spiritual services, dental referrals, and whether she wanted the staff to know her preferred pronouns. She declined permission to be photographed and wrote married in block letters where the form asked for marital status. The woman at the desk examined the page. "And your spouse is alive," Evelyn said. Karen shifted beside her. "He's recovering at another facility." "Just temporarily," Evelyn added. The woman nodded as if temporary were a medical condition she saw every day. Evelyn's room was at the end of the second-floor hall. It was private, as advertised, with a narrow bed, a vinyl recliner, and a window overlooking the garden. The garden consisted of 2 benches, a concrete bird bath, and a circular path surrounding a maple tree. Still, the tree was alive, and the benches faced each other. That counted for something. A respiratory therapist named Nina explained the oxygen concentrator. She was in her 40s, with silver hoops in her ears and a tattoo of a cardinal on one wrist. She spoke to Evelyn instead of Karen. "The goal is to get you walking without this," Nina said, tapping the clear tube. "But the goal isn't to pretend you don't need it before you're ready. I'm very good at pretending." "So, I hear," Karen said. "You've known her 4 minutes. I know the type." Evelyn liked her immediately and tried not to show it. Her suitcase had already been placed on a bench beneath the window. Karen unpacked with the frantic precision of someone who wanted drawers to solve a problem. 6 nightgowns, 3 pairs of slacks, 2 cardigans, underwear, socks, slippers. She lined Evelyn's toiletries along the sink and tucked the empty suitcase beneath the bench. "You forgot my brown shoes," Evelyn said. "You won't need them here. What if the governor visits? You can wear slippers for the governor. The governor will think I've given up." Karen opened the nightstand drawer and placed Evelyn's Bible inside. Evelyn had not opened it in months. "Did you bring the framed picture from my dresser?" Karen paused. "Which one?" "The cabin. I brought the one of us at Christmas." She set it on the nightstand. It showed Karen and Evelyn standing in front of Karen's fireplace, each holding a glass of wine. Frank was not in it. He had taken the picture. "The cabin one has both of us," Evelyn said. "I can bring it next time. You asked which personal items I wanted, and I'll bring it." Karen closed the drawer harder than necessary. Evelyn watched her move around the small room. Her daughter looked competent anywhere. She could turn a loading dock, a hospital corridor, or somebody else's kitchen into a place where she issued instructions. Growing up, Karen had been the girl who corrected substitute teachers and reorganized the church pantry during a funeral. "You don't have to keep arranging things," Evelyn said. "I'm almost done. You folded those socks twice." Karen sat on the bench. The fight went out of her shoulders all at once. "I keep seeing you on that floor." Evelyn looked toward the window. "You weren't answering me," Karen said. "Your eyes were open, but you weren't answering." "I remember." "No, you don't. You were barely conscious." "I remember enough. And Frank was trying to get up, and I thought he was going to fall on top of you. He would have missed. His aim isn't what it used to be." "Mom," the word came out with a crack in it. Evelyn reached for the oxygen tubing and adjusted it beneath her nose, though it did not need adjusting. "I'm sorry you found us that way. I'm not asking you to be sorry. What are you asking?" Karen stared down at her clasped hands. "I don't know yet." That answer was honest enough to quiet them both. After Karen left, Evelyn called Frank. He answered on the 6th ring. "Hart Residence." She shut her eyes. "Which one?" There was a pause. "Very funny," he said. "Tell me about your palace." He had a roommate named Murray who kept the television on a horse racing channel and fell asleep before every race. The room had 2 beds divided by a curtain, one closet split with blue tape, and a view of the service entrance. "But," Frank said, "there's a courtyard with a fish pond. Real fish? 3, 1 orange, 2 gray. You counted. I named them. Of course you did. The orange one is Karen. Why? Moves fast, makes the others nervous." Evelyn laughed, then coughed until she had to press the call button for water. Frank waited without speaking. He knew the difference between a cough that needed conversation and one that needed silence. When she could breathe again, he said, "Tom brought my electric razor. That was thoughtful. He brought my navy suit." "Why?" I asked him that. He said, "In case I need decent clothes." "For what, your arraignment?" He also brought the framed picture of me and him fishing. Evelyn looked at Karen's Christmas photograph. "Frank, I know. Maybe they were just grabbing things. I know." She could tell from his voice that he had set his jaw. On anyone else, silence was empty. On Frank, it had furniture. "Ask Tom for the cabin picture," she said. Karen forgot it. "All right. And your green sweater. The rooms get cold at night. Did you bring the blue one I hate?" Karen packed for me. So, yes. Yes. They stayed on the phone until an aide came to take Evelyn to dinner. Neither wanted to be the one who ended the call. At last, Frank said, "Same time tomorrow? Before dinner. They're serving something described as chicken supreme, and I need to prepare. Love you, Evie. Love you." The line clicked. Evelyn sat with the phone against her ear for several seconds after it went quiet. The days acquired a shape. At 7, someone woke her for medication. At 8, breakfast arrived under a gray plastic dome. At 9, Nina made her breathe into a clear tube that lifted a blue marker. At 10:30, a physical therapist named Joel walked beside her while she pushed a wheeled frame along the corridor. "There's a chair at the far end," he said on the first morning. "I can see it. That's our destination. It's a depressing destination. What would improve it? A bar." The next day, a paper cocktail umbrella had been taped to the chair. Evelyn reached it without stopping and demanded a better bar. She worked hard because every extra step felt like one step toward Frank. By the 5th day, Nina lowered the oxygen. By the 7th, Evelyn could shower with someone waiting outside instead of inside. She recorded these victories for Frank, who responded with his own. He had walked the length of his courtyard, remembered every medication time, and beaten Murray at gin rummy, despite Murray's accusation that Parkinson's gave Frank an unfair shuffle. Karen visited every afternoon for the first 4 days. then missed Friday because of a wedding tasting. On Saturday, she arrived with clean laundry, the brown shoes, and 2 binders from the kitchen table. "I thought you might want these," she said. They were the catering accounts. Evelyn looked at them. Karen's expression changed. "Not to work on." "Just because you asked where they were." "I didn't ask where they were. You asked whether I'd found the missing invoices. That was in the hospital. I can take them back." Evelyn put a hand on the top binder. "Did you find the 11,000? "Most of it. Some deposits were entered under the event date instead of the payment date." "I told you that in April. You tell me a lot of things." Evelyn let the remark sit between them. Karen rubbed at a grease mark on one binder with her thumb. "How's Frank?" she asked. "Ask him." "I don't have his number at the facility." "You have Tom's." Karen busied herself with the laundry drawer. "Tom and I aren't exactly enjoying each other right now." "You're enjoying each other enough to organize our lives." "I knew you were going to do that." "Do what? Make this sound like something we did to you." Evelyn glanced at the oxygen concentrator humming beside the bed. "I don't believe I drove the van." Karen pushed the drawer shut. "The landlord called me." "Why?" "The air conditioner at the house has to be replaced. He says it isn't worth repairing. He's said that for 3 summers. He also said the lease renews next month." "Yes." Karen sat in the vinyl chair. "Mom, even if this is temporary, you and Frank can't go back there." "Why not?" "The bathroom doorway is too narrow for his walker. The basement laundry is dangerous. The air conditioner barely works. You both fell in one evening. Frank doesn't normally use the walker in the house. He does now." "For now." Karen's mouth tightened. "You keep using those words like they erase what happened. And you keep using what happened like it erases everything before it." Neither spoke. Outside, a gray-haired man completed a slow circle around the maple tree while an aide walked several steps behind him. When he passed the window, he lifted 2 fingers in greeting. Evelyn lifted hers back. "We should give notice," Karen said. "It's 30 days. That gives us time to find you somewhere safer without paying another month for an empty house. Somewhere for both of us." "Of course. Not near you. Not near Tom. Somewhere Frank and I choose." Karen looked tired again. "Yes." "Say it properly." "Mom, say, somewhere you and Frank choose. Somewhere you and Frank choose." Evelyn studied her daughter's face, searching for the impatience beneath the promise. It was there, but so was fear. Fear made Karen efficient. It had always been one of the most useful and dangerous things about her. "I want to talk to Frank first." "Fine. And I want the cabin photograph." "I forgot." "You remembered the account binders." Karen flinched. Evelyn regretted it at once, but did not take it back. That evening, Frank did not answer at their usual time. She called twice, then a 3rd time. At last, Tom picked up. "Evelyn?" The sound of her name in his voice, surprised, formal, made her grip the phone harder. "Where's Frank?" "He's fine." They adjusted one of his medications and he fell asleep early. "Wake him. He needs rest." "I need to speak to my husband." Tom exhaled through his nose. "Can this wait until morning?" Evelyn looked at the 2 binders Karen had left on the bench. "No," she said. "It can't." Tom did not answer immediately. Behind him, a television audience applauded. A man's voice shouted something about a new washer and dryer, and the audience applauded again. "He was worn out after therapy," Tom said. "They told me not to disturb him." "Who told you?" "The nurse." "What is her name?" "What?" "The nurse who told you I'm not allowed to speak to my husband." "What is her name?" "I didn't say you weren't allowed. You're holding his telephone." He left it on the table, "Then carry it to him." "Evelyn, he's asleep, and I am 90 miles away." Tom went quiet. He had never liked direct statements. They left him nothing to correct. Evelyn could picture him standing in Frank's room with one hand in the pocket of his khaki pants, looking around for a reasonable person to take his side. Tom was 55 and had inherited Frank's height, but not his patience. He managed 3 rental properties in addition to his job selling industrial pumps. He called himself practical, usually right before suggesting something inconvenient for somebody else. "I'm worried about him," Evelyn said. "So am I." "Then we have something in common. Wake him." She heard movement, a door opening, the soft knock of the phone against something hard. Tom said, farther away, "Dad?" A muffled answer. "It's Evelyn." Another answer, sharper. Tom returned to the phone. He says, "Give him a minute. You can leave the room. I was already going to." "Good night, Tom." He did not say it back. A minute later, Frank came on the line breathing heavily. "You there?" "I'm here." "What happened?" "Nothing happened." "You didn't answer." "I fell asleep." "So I was told." "My pills got changed." Tom's making it sound like I was tranquilized by the state. Tom is making it sound like sleep ended our marriage. Frank grunted. She heard his walker roll, then the creak of his bed. "You all right?" she asked, stiff. "Murray stole my extra pillow." "I did not," a voice called in the background. "You're lying on it? This is my pillow. It's got an F on the tag. For facility." Frank lowered his voice. "It has an F for Frank." Evelyn smiled. "Take it back when he falls asleep. He never sleeps. He lurks." "I heard that," Murray said. There was comfort in the foolishness of it. The sound of Frank bickering with another man over a pillow made him seem less distant, not more. Evelyn let herself listen until her shoulders dropped. Then she told him about the lease. Frank did not answer right away. "Are you there?" she asked. "I'm thinking." "I know. You make that little furnace noise when you think." "I do not." "You do." He made the noise again. Evelyn waited. Finally he said, "Karen's right about the bathroom door. I know, and those basement stairs. I know. We've hated that air conditioner since we moved in. You said it had character. I was trying not to spend $600. It worked. We spent $800 repairing it. That was character." She rested her head against the vinyl chair. "If we give notice, it has to be because we're moving somewhere else together. Not because they're moving us apart. Agreed. We choose the place. Agreed. No signing anything Tom puts in front of you without calling me. You too. Karen doesn't put things in front of me. She leaves them beside my lunch and tells me the deadline was yesterday." Frank laughed softly, then coughed. "Did they adjust the medication because of the tremor?" Evelyn asked. "Because I froze during therapy." Her fingers tightened around the phone. "Froze how?" "My feet wouldn't start." "It happens. It hasn't happened before. It has, just not where you could see it." That hurt more than she expected. "How long?" "Couple months." "Frank, I didn't want you worrying. I was already worried. You just made me uninformed." "I know." The television on his end grew louder. Murray protested that nobody could hear the horses over all the whispering. Evelyn said, "I hid the fever." "I know. You knew? You put on lipstick before breakfast. You only do that when you're sick and trying to look lively." "Then why didn't you say anything?" "Same reason you didn't ask how many pills I missed." They sat in the recognition of it, each holding evidence against the other that was also evidence against themselves. Frank spoke first. "Maybe we haven't been as good at taking care of each other as we thought." "Don't say that. I didn't say we were bad at loving each other." The distinction lodged somewhere beneath her ribs. Evelyn picked at a loose thread on the recliner arm. "Karen wants to send notice tomorrow. Let's do it. Are you sure?" "No, but let's do it. And then we start looking. Together." "Together," she said. In the morning, Karen arrived before physical therapy with coffee, a blueberry muffin, and her laptop. She placed all three on the rolling tray as if presenting a business proposal. "You talked to Frank?" "Yes." "And?" "We'll give notice." Relief crossed Karen's face so quickly that Evelyn almost withdrew the permission. "But," Evelyn said, "we are choosing our next home together. Frank and me. Nobody else?" "Understood." "I want that to be understood by Tom, too." "I'll tell him." "No, I'll tell him." Karen opened the laptop. "The landlord needs written confirmation. You can email him. Let me read it. It just says you won't renew. Then it won't take long to read." Karen turned the screen. The message was brief. Evelyn read it twice. It stated that she and Frank intended to vacate at the end of the lease term and authorized Karen and Tom to coordinate removal and storage of their belongings while they recovered. Frank had already sent his agreement from his phone. Evelyn frowned. Removal and storage. The movers need someone at the house. You two can't be there. Not now. Right. We haven't chosen where anything is going. Storage. It says storage. I know what it says. Karen pushed the coffee closer. "Mom, the lease ends in 26 days. We need time to pack. Who is we?" "Me. Tom. Movers for the furniture." Evelyn imagined strangers opening her dresser drawers, wrapping the green glass bowl her mother had given her, carrying Frank's recliner through the front door. "I want to be there. You're on oxygen. I can sit in a chair and tell people what goes where. The whole point is for you to recover. The whole point of what? Karen pressed her lips together. That came out wrong. No, I think it came out very clearly. A knock sounded, and Joel leaned into the room. The paper umbrella from the hallway chair was tucked behind his ear. Ready to make enemies with gravity? Already have, Evelyn said. He noticed Karen and the laptop. I can come back. No. Evelyn kept her eyes on the email. Wait outside 1 minute. When he left, she turned the laptop toward Karen. Add that nothing is to be sold, donated, or thrown away without our permission. Fine. And I want photographs before anything is packed. Fine. And bring me the cabin picture. I said I would. You said that 6 days ago. Karen edited the email. The clicking of the keys sounded angry. When she finished, Evelyn read the new sentence, then typed her own name at the bottom and pressed send. There, Karen said. One less thing to worry about. Evelyn looked at the confirmation in the sent folder. It did not feel like one less thing. It felt like signing the bottom of a staircase before she knew where it led. Joel walked her farther that morning than he ever had, past the chair with the cocktail umbrella, past the nurse's station, all the way to a sunny alcove near the elevators. When she reached it, she was sweating and furious. You want to sit? He asked. No. Good answer or stubborn answer? Are those different in your paperwork? Very. She took 6 more steps before her legs began to shake. Joel guided her into a chair without making a ceremony of it. A woman seated across the alcove glanced up from a crossword puzzle. She wore a lavender tracksuit and reading glasses attached to a beaded chain. First week? The woman asked. Is it that obvious? You're still mad at the furniture. Evelyn looked at the chair beneath her. It knows what it did. The woman smiled. I'm Loretta. Evelyn. Loretta nodded toward the wedding ring on Evelyn's hand. Your husband visit? He's in another place. I'm sorry. He isn't dead. I didn't say he was. You made the face. What face? The widow face. Loretta considered that. You're right, I did. He's in assisted care near his son. Far? 90 miles. That's far if you don't drive. I drive. Joel, standing behind her, said nothing. Evelyn turned. I drive. I didn't say you didn't. You made a face too. I'm learning there are many dangerous faces. Back in her room, her phone showed a message from Frank. Tom had sent him 3 listings for assisted living facilities near his house. One offered companion suites, but the photographs showed 2 single beds on opposite walls with a curtain between them. Evelyn called Karen. Frank and I asked for apartments, she said when Karen answered, not facilities. This is just research. It is research into something we did not ask for. You need to keep an open mind. My mind is open. It can see that all 3 places are near Tom. Karen sighed. Kitchen noise clattered behind her. I have a tasting in 20 minutes, and I have a life in progress. Can we talk tonight? Will you send listings for ordinary accessible apartments before then? If I have time. You had time to prepare the lease email. That had a deadline. So do we. Karen lowered her voice. Mom, you don't know what your needs are going to be when you leave. Neither do you. I know you can't manage that house. We agreed about the house. And Frank can't be responsible for you if your lungs get worse. The sentence was quiet, reasonable, almost tender. Evelyn stared at the garden. Who said Frank is responsible for me? You know what I mean. No. Tell me. I mean, he has his own limitations. And I have mine. Exactly. We have had limitations for years. They fit in the house with us. Until they didn't. The man in the garden passed beneath the maple tree. Today he was using a cane instead of an aide's arm. Karen said, I have to go. Bring the photograph. I will. She did not bring it that night. She did not come at all. Instead, shortly after dinner, she sent Evelyn 27 photographs from the house. The couch stripped of its cushions. The kitchen cabinets open. Frank's workbench half emptied. Neat rows of boxes labeled kitchen, clothes, papers, Evelyn, Frank. Evelyn enlarged the last photograph. Their bedroom was nearly bare. The quilt had been removed, and the drawers stood open. On the stripped mattress lay 2 pieces of masking tape. One read, Evelyn, the other read Frank. Her phone rang before she could call. Karen said, I need to ask about the bed. What about it? The storage company charges by volume, and honestly, that mattress is old. It's 7 years old. Tom found a donation service that can pick it up tomorrow. Our bed? We can buy you something more appropriate once we know where you're going. Evelyn looked at the two names lying 6 inches apart on the bare mattress. Karen, she said, where do you think we're going? Karen did not answer. Kitchen noise crowded the silence between them. Metal pans, a faucet running, someone calling that they needed more rosemary. Evelyn could hear her daughter walk away from it. A door swung shut and the noise softened. Mom, Karen said, we don't know yet. You've been telling me for 2 weeks that this is temporary. It is temporary. Temporary until what? Until we know what you both need. The bed has nothing to do with our needs. It costs $90 a month to store a mattress nobody should keep. We should keep it. Why? The question was so plain that Evelyn almost missed its cruelty. Because it's ours. You can buy another mattress. That is not the point. Then what is the point? Evelyn looked at the photograph again. 2 names on 2 pieces of tape. Karen had written both. Evelyn recognized the square tops of her E's. The point is that you've already decided there won't be another room where Frank and I need the same bed. Karen exhaled slowly. I'm trying to make practical decisions. You are making permanent decisions with a temporary word in your mouth. That's not fair. Cancel the pickup. I have 20 people coming tomorrow, and I can't spend the morning rearranging. Cancel it. Fine. I want you to say it. I'll cancel the mattress pickup and take those labels off. What labels? You know what labels. Karen was quiet again. Evelyn said, I am not a pile, Karen. I know that. Frank isn't a pile either. I know. Do you? The line went dead. Evelyn lowered the phone and sat very still. The oxygen machine hummed beside her like a polite witness. A few minutes later, Nina came in to check her readings. She clipped the monitor to Evelyn's finger, watched the numbers rise, then looked at her face. Bad call? How can you tell? You're breathing like you're trying to punish the air. Evelyn looked toward the window. My daughter wants to donate my mattress. Nina waited. I realize that sounds small. Small things are usually where people hide the large things. Evelyn glanced at the cardinal tattoo on Nina's wrist. Did you learn that in respiratory school? No. Divorce. Despite herself, Evelyn laughed. Nina removed the monitor. Your oxygen's good, she said. Let's try 20 minutes without the tube. What if I use the 20 minutes badly? Then I'll put it back. Nina shut off the concentrator and helped lift the tubing over Evelyn's head. The air against her face felt strange and naked. She drew one careful breath, then another. Nothing happened. It was not a miracle. Her chest remained sore, and the effort made her conscious of every muscle beneath her ribs. But for 20 minutes, she sat without a machine breathing nearby. And when Nina returned, Evelyn's numbers were still acceptable. Tomorrow we try 30, Nina said. Can I save the minutes and use them on weekends? No banking oxygen. Terrible system. After Nina left, Evelyn called Frank. Tom answered again, but this time she spoke before he could. Put him on. He's at dinner, then take him the phone. They don't allow calls in the dining room. Ask him to call when he finishes. Tom sighed. Sure. And Tom? What? Nothing from the house gets sold, donated, discarded, or given away unless Frank and I both approve. I know. Your sister was about to donate our bed. It's an old mattress. Evelyn shut her eyes. Did the two of you rehearse that? I'm the one paying the storage deposit. Use our money. That isn't the issue. It becomes the issue when you mention what you're paying. I was trying to help. I know. Help less. She ended the call before he could. Frank called 43 minutes later. You've upset Tom. He'll recover. He says you accused him of stealing a mattress. I did not use the word stealing. You implied it with style. Evelyn told him what Karen had said. Frank listened without interrupting. When she finished, she waited for his anger. Instead, he said, Maybe we let the bed go. She gripped the phone. What? It's a mattress, Evie. It's our bed. The frame's nothing special. We bought it on sale. That isn't what you said when we spent 4 hours putting it together. I said plenty that day. You said no Swedish furniture would defeat an American veteran. And then we discovered it was made in Ohio. You slept on the floor because you lost a bolt. I found the bolt. In your pocket. That's not the point. No, it isn't. His voice softened. $90 a month is foolish if we don't know how long we'll be here. We are not staying here. I didn't say we were. You said if. I said we don't know how long. Evelyn looked at the empty side of her narrow bed. The rails were down, but their metal brackets made little shadows against the wall. Did Tom send you apartment listings? She asked. He sent places, facilities, mostly. Karen hasn't sent me anything. She's busy. So am I. With what? Getting out. Frank was quiet. Evelyn heard the faint sounds of Murray's television. Hooves struck dirt. An announcer's voice rose with excitement. Tom says you might want to stay near Karen, Frank said. I never said that. He said Karen thought you'd be more comfortable there. Karen says you've settled in better than expected. I beat Murray at cards. That's not settling in. Do you want to stay near Tom? No. Do you want me near Karen? No. Then why are we discussing separate places? I don't know. It was the first time either of them said it aloud. The next morning, Karen arrived carrying the cabin photograph under one arm. The picture had been taken on their 25th anniversary. Frank stood on the porch in a red plaid shirt, one hand raised because he had been telling the camera operator to move farther back. Evelyn leaned against the railing, smiling at his fussing. Behind them hung the wooden sign Frank had made when they bought the property. Heart's Rest, the apostrophe in the wrong place. You found it, Evelyn said. It was behind a stack of books. Karen set it on the nightstand, displacing the Christmas photograph. There was a shallow crack in one corner of the frame, but the glass was intact. Did you cancel the pickup? Karen began folding a cardigan that was already folded. They charge a fee for cancellations under 24 hours. Did you? Yes. Thank you. Karen gave her a look. You're welcome. Evelyn waited. Karen folded the cardigan into a smaller square. Tom thinks the mattress should go too. Then Tom may donate his. Frank said he doesn't care. Evelyn stared at her. I called him this morning, Karen said. He said not to spend money storing something replaceable. He said that to me too. So nothing. You told me both of you had to approve. Both of you don't agree. The logic was flawless and infuriating. Evelyn turned the cabin photograph toward herself. Give us until tomorrow. Mom, I cannot keep rescheduling movers and donation services every time you attach a memory to a lamp. We are talking about one bed. We're talking about a whole house. Then why are you in such a hurry? Because I have a business to run, Frank's place wants Tom there for meetings. You'll be discharged soon, and nobody has any idea where you're going. I know where I'm not going. That isn't enough. A cough climbed Evelyn's throat. She covered it with her fist, but it deepened until her eyes watered. Karen was out of the chair immediately, reaching for the oxygen tubing. Evelyn knocked her hand away. Stop, Karen said. I don't need it. You're turning red. That is what coughing does. Karen reached again. Evelyn caught her wrist. For a moment, they held each other that way, mother and daughter, both breathing hard. Then Karen let go. I'm scared, she said. The admission was almost angry. Evelyn's cough eased. So am I. You don't act like it. I don't have time to comfort you about what's happening to me. Karen looked as if she had been slapped. Evelyn regretted that too. Her regrets were multiplying faster than her strength. Karen sat down. The social coordinator here gave me a discharge estimate. 8 to 10 days. Nobody told me. They were going to. And Frank? He may need longer. How much longer? I don't know. Tom said they're still adjusting medication. Evelyn looked at the cabin photograph. Frank's raised hand had been caught in the sun, bright at the edges. Take the mattress, she said. Karen blinked. What? Donate it. Are you sure? No, but take it. We'll get you another bed. Evelyn did not answer. That afternoon, she began making calls. She asked the receptionist for a notepad and wrote accessible apartments across the top. She called 6 buildings within 40 miles of Pittsburgh. 2 had no elevators. 1 had a 9-month waiting list. 1 allowed residents only if they could evacuate independently. Another had an available first-floor unit, but no walk-in shower. The 6th manager said, Have you considered assisted living? For a married couple? Certainly, many communities have 1-bedroom suites. Evelyn sat straighter. They do? Of course. She wrote the name of the place, the monthly cost, and the phrase, 6-week wait. It was more expensive than their rented house, but less than 2 separate facility rooms. She called 2 more. Both accommodated couples. Neither had immediate openings, but neither acted as if her question were unusual. By dinner, Evelyn had filled 3 pages. She called Karen. Did you know there are assisted living places with apartments for married couples? I know they exist. You said you couldn't find anything suitable. I said we didn't know what level of care you each need. That's not the same thing. No, it isn't. Did you call any? Karen was silent. Evelyn looked at the notepad. Did Tom? You'll have to ask Tom. That means no. It means we have both been dealing with an emergency. The emergency ended when the ambulances left. This is a decision. For you. For us, it's logistics. There it was. Evelyn wrote the word logistics at the bottom of the page and underlined it twice. Are you coming tomorrow? She asked. I have an event. The day after? I can come in the evening. I want to see Frank. We'll arrange it. When? When you're stronger. Nina says I can go several hours without oxygen. This weekend is impossible. For whom? Karen did not answer quickly enough. That night, Frank sounded tired. Evelyn read him the names of the 3 places that accepted couples. He wrote them down, asking her to repeat the prices. Tom won't like the second one, he said. Why? Too far from him. Do you like it? I haven't seen it. Neither has Tom. Frank made the little furnace noise. Then he said, Tom told me you needed peace. Peace from what? Me, apparently. Karen told me you needed routine. I've had the same routine for 38 years. Evelyn traced the crooked apostrophe in the cabin sign through the glass. Do you remember what you said when you made that? She asked. That the apostrophe was artistic? After that. Frank was quiet for a long moment. Then his voice changed. It lost the joking edge and became younger somehow. If anybody ever tried to split us up, he said, we'd meet where we started. Evelyn watched the 2 people in the photograph, still leaning toward each other without knowing they were doing it. That was a joke, she said. Was it? Outside her room, a dinner cart rattled down the hall. Evelyn pressed her fingertips to the glass over Frank's sunlit hand. No, she said. I suppose it wasn't. Frank gave a soft, satisfied grunt, as if he had just won an argument they had been conducting for decades. Don't get ideas, Evelyn said. Wouldn't dream of it. You're already dreaming of it. I can hear you. Maybe I was remembering. She lowered her voice. Do you even know what shape the cabin is in? Cabin-shaped, last I checked. When was the last time you checked? October. We went in October 3 years ago. Then that. The water was shut off. The porch step was soft. I was going to replace it. You've been going to replace it since before your left hand started shaking. Frank was quiet. Evelyn immediately wished she could call the words back. She could have blamed tiredness, but tiredness did not invent cruelty. It only let it out without a coat. I'm sorry, she said. It shakes whether you mention it or not. That doesn't mean I should use it to win. You didn't win, I know. Murray's horse race ended in a burst of shouting. Frank covered the phone and told him to turn the television down. Murray called back, Tell your wife number 7 came from last. Number 7 came from last, Frank reported. I'm happy for him. She says she's happy for him. Good woman. The ordinary exchange loosened the knot in Evelyn's chest. Frank said, I'm not proposing we go live in the woods with a hatchet and a sack of beans. You don't own a hatchet. I own 2. Tom has them now. Probably. They both went quiet at that. Evelyn looked at the photograph. Tomorrow we call the places on my list, together, and we find out exactly when they intend to discharge you. Tom says that depends. Tom says many things for a man who doesn't wear a name badge. Frank chuckled. Good night, Evie. Good night. She slept badly. At 6 in the morning, an aide came in carrying a plastic storage bin with Evelyn's name taped to the lid. Karen had dropped it at the front desk before an early catering job. Inside were things from the house. A blue cardigan Evelyn had not asked for. 3 framed photographs, her recipe box, the ceramic sugar bowl shaped like a beehive, a stack of mail held with a rubber band, 11 anniversary cards. She lifted the cards out one by one. Some were recent, with silver numbers and jokes about surviving marriage. Others had yellowed edges. On their 10th anniversary, Frank had bought a card showing 2 bears in a hammock. On their 20th, Evelyn had given him one that played music when opened, though the battery had died years ago. Every envelope bore both names, Evelyn and Frank, Frank and Evie, to the hearts. There should have been more than 11. She called Karen before breakfast. Where are the rest of the anniversary cards? A truck engine rumbled behind Karen's voice. What cards? The cards from the hall closet. I split them. Split them? How? Some went in your bin, some went in Frank's. Why? I had 2 boxes open. That is not a reason. Mom, they're greeting cards. They are cards from our marriage. I didn't throw them away. You separated them. I put half with each of you, as if we each own half a marriage? For God's sake, that is not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Karen was silent. Evelyn sat on the edge of the bed with a card open in her lap. It was the first anniversary card Frank had given her after his Parkinson's diagnosis. He had written, "My hand isn't steady, but the promise is." I had 1 day to pack a house, Karen said. Tom took Frank's personal things. I took yours. Shared things had to go somewhere. Storage is somewhere. Not everything fits in storage. The cards fit in my lap. I can't do this at 6:30 in the morning. You did it at 6:30 yesterday. Did what? Decided which part of our life belonged to which blood relative. Karen's breath struck the phone. You think I wanted any of this? I think you wanted it organized. I wanted you alive. And what did Tom want? You'll have to ask him. The truck engine revved. Karen said, I have to unload. Did you donate the bed? Another silence. Yes. Evelyn closed the card. You said Frank agreed, Karen continued. You agreed too. I know. We did exactly what you told us. I know. Then don't say it like I burned it in the yard. I didn't say anything. That's worse. Karen ended the call. At therapy, Joel placed a lightweight cane in Evelyn's hand. What happened to the walker? She asked. You're graduating. Do I get a ceremony? I can hum something. He taught her to move the cane with her right foot. Evelyn tried to lead with the wrong side, corrected too sharply, and nearly stepped on his shoe. Slow, Joel said. I am moving slow. You're moving angrily, different speed. He guided her around the maple tree path outside. The morning was already warm, but under the branches the air felt damp and green. Loretta sat on one of the benches doing her crossword. Your husband's still not dead? She called. Still not. Mine's been dead 9 years, very inconsiderate. He handled spiders. Joel looked between them. I feel I've missed some context. You don't want it, Evelyn said. After one lap, she sat beside Loretta. Joel checked his watch, told her she had 5 minutes, and moved far enough away to pretend he was not listening. Loretta folded the crossword. You look ready to fire somebody. My daughter packed my marriage into 2 bins. Efficient. That's what she'd call it. My son labeled everything after my stroke. Shirts, pants, remote control. Loretta pointed toward herself. He put a label on my walker that said, Mom. Evelyn laughed. I asked whether he thought I'd forget which one I was, Loretta said. He cried for half an hour. What did you do? Made him take the label off. Did that help? Help what? Any of it. No. Loretta reopened the crossword, but it improved the walker. By lunch, Evelyn had a discharge date, Monday, 5 days away. Nina delivered the news with a page of instructions. Evelyn would need oral antibiotics for 3 more days, exercises twice daily, and oxygen only at night until a follow-up appointment. She could walk short distances with the cane, but should not use stairs alone. Where are you going Monday? Nina asked. My daughter thinks I'm going home with her. Are you? I haven't decided. You'll need an address before discharge. I have several. Do any have a safe bathroom and somebody who can check in? Evelyn disliked the question because it was sensible. Karen's house has stairs, she said. The guest room is upstairs. Her kitchen runs out of the first floor 3 days a week, and people start carrying trays through at 5 in the morning. That sounds restful. She has an office with a pull-out sofa. Safe bathroom? Across the hall. Frank's place? 90 miles away. I know. Evelyn looked at her. Can I go there? Nina rested the papers on the bed. You can go anywhere you choose. I'm asking whether the destination supports your recovery. What if the person I'm recovering with is somewhere else? That matters too. It was the first answer Evelyn had received that did not treat safety and marriage as opposing forces. She called Frank's facility directly. A receptionist transferred her to the nursing desk, where a cheerful man named Curtis confirmed that Frank's medication adjustment would be reviewed Monday. If stable, he could discharge later that week with outpatient therapy and help organizing medication. Does he have to stay there until then? Evelyn asked. He's not under an involuntary order, ma'am. I didn't ask that. There was a pause. Mr. Hart can participate in his own discharge planning. Has anyone participated with him? I'd need his permission to discuss details. Good. Ask him for it. An hour later, Curtis called back with Frank on the line. They arranged a conference call for the following afternoon. Frank sounded pleased. Tom's going to hate this, he said after Curtis hung up. Why? He likes meetings better when the other people aren't there. That evening, Karen appeared with Thai food, the first accessible apartment listings she had printed, and a portable oxygen machine she had rented for Evelyn's discharge. Every gesture was useful. Every gesture made Evelyn feel ungrateful. They ate noodles from white cartons while rain tapped the window. "I can put the pull-out sofa in my office," Karen said. "It'll only be a couple weeks. What happens when Frank is discharged? We figure that out then." "No, we figure it out now." Karen set down her fork. "I cannot take responsibility for both of you. I didn't ask you to. If you're under my roof, I'm responsible. I have lived under many roofs without becoming the furniture. You need nighttime oxygen, and Frank needs his pills put into boxes. Between us, we possess oxygen in boxes. This isn't funny." "No, but you keep saying things that invite help." Karen rubbed her forehead. "Tom thinks Dad should stay where he is for at least a month." "Dad?" Karen lowered her hand. "You called him Dad," Evelyn said. "I know his name. You haven't called him that since your wedding." "It slipped." "Why?" "Because I have been talking to Tom every day, and that's what he calls him." Evelyn studied her daughter. "What does Tom call me?" Karen looked down at the noodles. "Evelyn," she said. The answer should not have surprised her. It did. Karen picked up one of the apartment printouts. "This place has a first-floor unit available in 3 weeks. It's 12 minutes from me. And how far from Tom?" "Nearly 2 hours. Then Frank will be expected to move away from his son. But I'm expected to move near my daughter. I found an available apartment. You found your solution. Fine. What is yours?" Evelyn looked at the cabin photograph on the nightstand. The rain in the picture had not started yet. Frank's red shirt was bright against the weathered boards, and the crooked sign hung over his shoulder. She had not called the electric company. She did not know whether the roof still leaked above the loft. The nearest grocery store was 14 miles away. Even when Frank was strong, the hill behind the cabin left him winded. It was not a solution, but it was theirs. "I'm working on it," Evelyn said. Karen followed her eyes to the photograph. "No," she said. Evelyn turned back. "I haven't said anything. You didn't have to. You're very good at hearing me when I'm silent. That cabin is isolated. It has steps, no cell service, and a wood stove older than I am. The stove is younger than you, not enough younger. I'm not moving there. Promise me." Evelyn considered the word. Karen had used it lightly in the hospital. Temporary, a few weeks, somewhere you and Frank choose. Promises delivered like plastic cups of water, useful until empty. "I'm not promising you anything tonight," Evelyn said. Karen's face hardened. "Then I'm not taking you there Monday. I didn't ask you to. How else do you think you're getting anywhere?" The question remained in the room after Karen left. Evelyn waited until the hallway quieted, then called the number printed on the back of her insurance card. After navigating 3 menus, she reached a transportation coordinator and asked what a private accessible ride would cost from the rehabilitation center to Frank's facility. The answer made her wince. Then she asked the cost from Frank's facility to the cabin. She wrote both numbers beneath the word logistics. This time, she did not underline it. She circled it. The conference call began 12 minutes late because Murray had taken Frank's phone into the bathroom by mistake. "It was on my side," Murray argued in the background. "You put it in your bathrobe pocket," Frank said. "Same robe. It has your name in it. They write names in everything here. It's oppressive." Curtis, the nurse from Frank's facility, cleared his throat gently. "Mr. Hart, are you ready?" "As I'll ever be." Evelyn sat at the small desk in her room with her notepad open. Frank had given permission for Curtis to discuss his care with her, and Evelyn had written every medication down before Curtis reached the second one. "The adjustment has helped with freezing episodes," Curtis said. "He still needs reminders around timing, especially if he's focused on another activity." "I took pills for 30 years without an audience," Frank said. "And you missed 2 doses the day you came to us. 1 day in 30 years. 1 hot day on a ladder," Evelyn said. Frank made the furnace noise. Curtis continued. Frank could dress, shower with grab bars, and walk short distances with a rolling walker. He should not drive until his neurologist evaluated the medication change. He would need physical therapy twice a week and someone to help organize a pill dispenser. "Can his wife do that?" Evelyn asked. "If she wants to. Does she require certification? No. Permission from his son? No. Evie," Frank said, "I'm clarifying." Curtis sounded as if he might be smiling. Mr. Hart can discharge Thursday if the medication remains stable and he has a safe destination. Define safe, Evelyn said. A working bathroom, reliable heat and electricity, access to food, a plan for transportation and follow-up care. Steps? Steps are not automatically disqualifying. They need to be manageable. Evelyn drew a line through the cabin in her mind, from the broken porch step to the narrow bathroom, then down the hill to the road where cell reception disappeared. Frank said, "And if I choose to leave before Thursday?" Curtis paused. "We'd prefer to complete the adjustment. That wasn't my question. You're here voluntarily." Evelyn pressed her fingertips to the notepad. Curtis added, "Leaving before we can arrange follow-up would increase your risk." "We understand," Evelyn said. Frank did not answer. After Curtis disconnected, they remained on the line. "Well," Frank said, "well, Thursday. You should stay until Thursday. I thought we were escaping oppression. That was Murray. Your oppression appears medically useful for 3 more days. Where will you be?" Evelyn glanced at the discharge instructions on her desk. "Karen's office." "She's putting you in the office?" The sofa opens. "Does the copier watch?" "Only during business hours." "You hate sofa beds. You hate roommates who steal your telephone." "I don't hate Murray," Murray shouted. "Likewise." Evelyn rubbed the bridge of her nose. "We need a little time." "For what?" "To make the actual plan." "Cabin? Not as a home. No, not without seeing it." "Agreed. And if it's unsafe, we leave." "Agreed." "You said that too quickly. I'm trying to grow. We are not going there to prove we can live alone in the forest. No hatchet, no beans. We meet there. We decide the rest together." Frank was silent long enough that she checked the screen to make sure the call remained connected. Then he said, "When?" Evelyn looked at the date in the corner of her notepad. Their anniversary was the following Tuesday. "Tuesday," she said, 4 days after I get out. If you get out Thursday, when? "Frank, if the medication isn't stable, when?" he repeated. She understood the word. It was not denial. It was a handhold. "Tuesday," she said again, "around 4, at the cabin." Neither of them said what would happen if only one arrived. On Monday morning, Nina removed the oxygen cannula, coiled the tubing, and placed the portable unit in a black carrying case. "Nighttime only, unless you feel short of breath," she said, "and you do not wait until you're desperate. Understood?" "Yes." Say it without sounding offended. "I understand." "Better." Joel walked Evelyn to the front entrance with the cane. The paper cocktail umbrella was taped to its handle. "That compromises its dignity," Evelyn said. It never had dignity. Loretta stood near the reception desk in her lavender tracksuit, pretending to study a brochure. She handed Evelyn a folded crossword page. "What is this?" 7 across. "Leaving a place of confinement." 8 letters. Evelyn unfolded it. Escaping had been written in the boxes. "That is 8, Evelyn said. I counted. "You misspelled horizontal last week. I was under pressure." They hugged carefully. Loretta smelled of rosewater and peppermints. "Go see your not-dead husband," she whispered. Karen arrived 9 minutes late in a white delivery van, with Sunflower Catering painted in green letters along the side. The back was filled with racks, insulated food carriers, and silver chafing dishes that clattered whenever she turned. "I cleaned the passenger seat," she said. "I feel honored. You should." Karen loaded the oxygen case, Evelyn's suitcase, the cabin photograph, and the bin of anniversary cards. She had brought a cushion for the passenger seat and a bottle of water already opened, so Evelyn would not struggle with the cap. The care in those details made the deception ahead feel dirtier. Evelyn buckled herself in. As they pulled away, Karen said, "I thought we could stop at the pharmacy and then look at that apartment on Braddock. The one near you? It's available. Frank isn't discharged until Thursday. We can still look. We can look Friday." Karen's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Tom says Frank may stay another week. Curtis says Thursday." "Who is Curtis?" "His nurse." "You called his nurse?" "We had a conference. With Tom, with Frank." Karen glanced at her. "Why wasn't Tom included?" "Because it was about Frank. And you." "Yes, but not the people expected to take care of you." Evelyn watched storefronts slide past the window. "Nobody has asked you to take care of us forever. You're sleeping in my office tonight. I'm aware. You don't think that counts? It counts as one night on a sofa." Karen turned into the pharmacy drive-thru too sharply. The chafing dishes crashed behind them. One night, she said. What does that mean? It means tonight. Where are you going tomorrow? I haven't decided. You have decided. You just aren't telling me. Evelyn looked at her daughter's profile. The familiar dark hair, the crease between her brows, the little scar on her chin from a bicycle accident 46 years earlier. Karen had run into the house, bleeding and furious, because the bicycle had been damaged. Would you listen if I told you? Evelyn asked. If it made sense. That isn't listening. That's approving. The pharmacist appeared behind the window before Karen could answer. Karen's office was at the rear of her house, separated from the catering kitchen by a narrow hallway. The pull-out sofa had been opened and covered with clean sheets. A new shower chair waited in the downstairs bathroom. On the desk stood a vase of grocery store daisies and the 2 account binders. Evelyn looked at them. They were already here, Karen said. They were in my room Saturday. I needed them. Then why are they beside my bed? I didn't know where else to put them. The office had shelves. Evelyn carried the binders to the highest shelf she could reach and shoved them between a printer manual and a box of envelopes. Karen watched without comment. The house filled with cooking smells by mid-afternoon. Garlic, butter, roasting peppers. Employees moved through the hall carrying trays. Everyone greeted Evelyn warmly and too loudly, as if recovery had damaged her hearing. Karen brought soup at 6 and sat in the desk chair while Evelyn ate. Tom says Frank's been asking about a coffee pot, she said. What coffee pot? An old metal one. He thinks it was in the camping box. Evelyn's spoon stopped. They had bought it for $6 on the way to the cabin the first weekend they spent there. The lid had to be twisted before it would sit flat, and the handle grew hot enough to burn through a towel. Did Tom find it? He said he'd look. Where's the camping box? Storage, probably. Probably? There were a lot of boxes. Evelyn took another spoonful. I want the address of the storage unit. I'll send it. And the access code. It's under Tom's account. Why? He arranged it. Our belongings are under Tom's name. It was faster. Everything is faster when the person affected is somewhere else. Karen got up. I am not fighting with you tonight. Good. You need to rest. Good. And tomorrow we're touring the apartment at 11. No. Karen stared at her. Why not? I have plans. What plans? Evelyn set the soup on the desk. I am taking a bus to Somerset. From there, I have hired a car. Karen's face changed before she spoke. To the cabin. Yes. No. You used that word already. You cannot stay there. I'm not asking to stay. What does that mean? It means I'm going there. With whom? By myself. Karen laughed once, without humor. You were discharged this morning with oxygen, at night. There's no working water. I don't know that. Neither do you. Exactly. Karen planted both hands on the desk. Did Frank put you up to this? No. Is he meeting you? Evelyn looked at the daisies. One petal had fallen beside the vase. Mom, I'm going to the cabin. Answer me. You know, for 38 years, you believed Frank made every decision you disliked. That's not true. When I sold the old house, Frank talked me into it. When I stopped hosting Thanksgiving, Frank was keeping me from family. When I retired, Frank wanted me dependent. I never said that. You said all of it, sometimes with words. Karen stepped back. This isn't about whether I like Frank. No. It's about whether you believe my marriage is real when it inconveniences you. You and Frank nearly died on a kitchen floor, and you have used that floor to build a wall between us. Karen's eyes filled. She turned away quickly, angry at the tears. You think I'm the villain? She said. No, you do. I think you were scared. Then being in charge made the fear quieter, so you kept finding things to control. Karen wiped her cheek with the heel of her hand. You're not taking that bus. I bought the ticket. I'll call the company. And say what? That a grown woman purchased transportation? I'll tell them you're medically fragile. I'll tell them I can walk with a cane and carry my oxygen. What if something happens? Something already happened. That doesn't protect you from the next thing. No, neither do you. Karen looked at Evelyn for a long time. Then she crossed to the shelf, pulled down one of the account binders, and dropped it on the desk. If you go, she said, don't expect me to keep fixing everything behind you. Evelyn looked at the binder. The missing $11,000 had been reduced to $412. A month ago, she would have opened the spreadsheet before finishing her soup. Instead, she pushed the binder back toward Karen. Then we finally understand each other, she said. Karen left the room and shut the door. Evelyn waited until the kitchen sounds began again. Then she called Frank. "Still Thursday?" she asked. "Still Thursday. Did Tom find the coffee pot?" "Not yet. Make him find it." Frank laughed. "Bossy. Tuesday, 4 o'clock. I'll be there." When the call ended, Evelyn opened the bus schedule and checked it once more. In the hallway, Karen began giving orders about table linens. Her voice was steady again. Evelyn folded Loretta's crossword page and slipped it into the pocket of her suitcase. Then she placed the cabin photograph face down beneath her clothes, where Karen would not see it missing until after the bus had gone. At 8 the next morning, Karen stood in the office doorway wearing jeans, a flour-dusted apron, and the expression of someone who had prepared for battle before coffee. "You're still here?" Evelyn looked up from the bus timetable. "I generally am when people can see me. I thought you were leaving." "Next Tuesday." "You said Tuesday." "It is Tuesday. I know what day it is." "Then one of us has misunderstood something." Karen leaned against the doorframe. "You let me think you were getting on a bus today. You did most of that work yourself. So you're staying here a week, if the offer remains?" Karen folded her arms. "And Frank?" "He leaves Thursday." "Where is he going?" "Ask Frank. Tom says he's going home with him. Then Tom has answered you." Karen watched her for a moment. "Is Frank going to the cabin too?" Evelyn returned her eyes to the timetable. "He has his own arrangements. That means yes. It means Frank can answer questions about Frank. You two are behaving like fugitives. Fugitives don't usually provide a week's notice." Karen stepped into the room and shut the door behind her. From the kitchen came the steady thump of a knife chopping vegetables. "What happens when you get there?" she asked. "We look at it, and if the roof has collapsed, we admire the view from outside." "I'm serious. So am I." "If it's unsafe, will you leave?" Evelyn hesitated. Karen seized on it. "That's what I thought. If it is unsafe, we will decide where to go next. Why can't you decide from here?" "Because here, every decision begins with where you and Tom want us." "That isn't true. Show me one place you found that isn't near one of you." Karen's mouth tightened. Evelyn softened her voice. "I'm not trying to punish you. You're doing an excellent imitation. I need to see my husband. I offered to arrange that." "You offered to arrange it when I was stronger, when your schedule cleared, when Tom agreed, when the weather improved. I am stronger. Your schedule will never clear. Tom doesn't get a vote, and weather is a poor excuse in Pennsylvania." Karen looked down at the cane leaning beside the sofa. The paper umbrella was still taped to its handle. "What is that thing?" "My diploma." For a second, Karen's mouth twitched. The almost smile hurt worse than anger. "Thursday afternoon," Frank called from Tom's guest room. "I've been released into society," he announced. "Any conditions? No ladders, no driving, no amateur surgery." "Were you doing amateur surgery before?" "Not successfully." He sounded clearer than he had in the hospital, though his voice remained quieter than usual. Evelyn pictured him on the edge of a strange bed, Walker close, pills arranged in someone else's bathroom. "How is Tom's?" she asked. "Beige." "The whole house?" "Every inch." "I dropped a cracker and couldn't find it." "Did you get the coffee pot?" "Tom says it's in storage." "That was not the question. He's taking me tomorrow." "Will he let you into the unit?" "It's my stuff." "That was not the question either." Frank made the furnace noise. "Get the coffee pot," she said. "I'll get the coffee pot. And your green sweater. You love giving assignments. You love requiring them." They spoke every evening, but less freely while living beneath their children's roofs. Tom came into the guest room without knocking. Karen's office door did not latch, and employees passed it from dawn until evening. Evelyn began taking calls in the downstairs bathroom, sitting on the closed toilet with the exhaust fan running. During the days, she walked to the end of Karen's block and back. She used the oxygen only at night. She ordered groceries for the cabin, bottled water, bread, cheese, soup with pull-tab lids, crackers, coffee, and a small package of anniversary cupcakes that arrived squashed against one side of their container. She packed everything into a rolling suitcase. Karen noticed. "You can't carry all that. It rolls, not over gravel." "The driver can help." "What driver?" "A hired one from Somerset." "Give me the number." "No, in case you don't arrive." "I will call when I arrive." "Do you promise?" Evelyn zipped the suitcase. Yes, that promise she could make. On Sunday, Karen placed a printout on the office desk. It showed a first-floor apartment with wide doors, beige carpet, and a small balcony overlooking a parking lot. The manager will hold it until Wednesday, she said. For both of us? Yes. Has Frank seen it? I emailed him. You emailed Tom. I don't have Frank's email. He doesn't use email. Exactly. Evelyn studied the photographs. The bathroom had grab bars. The kitchen had a low counter. A clinic was 10 minutes away, and the rent was within reach if they stopped helping with Tom's repairs and Karen's books. It was not a bad apartment. That made refusing it harder. How far from the cabin? Evelyn asked. Karen sighed. An hour and 40 minutes. How far from Tom? Why does everything have to be precisely equal? It doesn't. It has to be ours. This could be yours. It could be mine, near you, chosen by you. You haven't even toured it. Neither has Frank. Karen picked up the printout. You'd rather sleep in a cabin with no running water. For one night? Yes. You don't know that it'll be one night. No. What are you proving? Evelyn looked at her daughter. That I still get to make a poor decision, she said. Karen gave a short, bitter laugh. That's what independence means to you? Sometimes. Monday night, Evelyn lay awake on the pull-out sofa, listening to the oxygen unit breathe. At 2, she heard Karen enter the office. Her daughter stood near the foot of the bed in a robe, barely visible in the green light from the machine. Mom, I'm awake. I can drive you. Evelyn pushed herself up on one elbow. To the cabin? Tomorrow morning. What about your event? I can have Denise manage setup. Evelyn had not expected the offer. For a dangerous second, she wanted to accept. She wanted Karen to carry the suitcase, complain about the porch, and see Frank arrive. She wanted the story to turn gentle before anyone had earned it. Will you leave me there? She asked. Karen did not answer. Will you drive away if I tell you to? I can't promise that. Then no. I'm trying. I know. Karen sat at the end of the sofa. The mattress dipped beneath her weight. What if he doesn't come? She asked. Evelyn stared toward the oxygen unit. He'll come. But what if he can't? It was the question Evelyn had refused to ask herself. Frank could freeze halfway to a doorway. A medication change could make him dizzy. Tom could discover the reservation and talk him out of it. Frank could look at the practical facts and decide that love did not require foolishness. Then I'll call you, Evelyn said. Karen's hand found her ankle beneath the blanket and rested there. In the morning, Karen was gone before Evelyn woke. On the desk lay a thermos of coffee, 2 sandwiches wrapped in waxed paper, and a note. I am still angry. Call me anyway. Evelyn folded it and placed it with Loretta's crossword. A rideshare took her to the bus terminal. The driver loaded her suitcase without comment and asked whether she was visiting family. Yes, Evelyn said. The bus smelled of hot fabric and stale coffee. Evelyn sat near the front, keeping her cane between her knees and the oxygen case beneath the seat. Pittsburgh thinned into low commercial strips, then hills crowded with summer trees. Every mile made her feel less brave and more committed. In Somerset, the hired car was 20 minutes late. The driver, a broad woman named Val, apologized 3 times and rearranged the trunk to fit the suitcase. That road's rough near the end, Val said when Evelyn gave the address. I know. You live out there? Not exactly. Val glanced at her in the mirror, but did not ask more. The gravel lane was worse than Evelyn remembered. Branches scraped the car. Weeds rose through the center track. When the cabin appeared, small and dark beneath the hemlocks, Evelyn felt the breath leave her in a way that had nothing to do with pneumonia. Heart's Rest still hung above the porch. The apostrophe was still wrong. Val carried the suitcase to the steps and tested the lowest board with her boot. This one's soft. It's been soft for 3 years. That doesn't improve it. Evelyn climbed carefully, leading with the cane. The lock resisted until she lifted the door by its knob, an old trick her hands remembered before her mind did. Inside, dust covered everything. A dead moth lay in the sink. The air smelled of wood, stone, and shut-up summers. One chair had lost a rung. Mouse droppings dotted the counter. When she tried the faucet, it coughed once and produced nothing. Somebody meeting you? Val asked from the doorway. My husband. Val looked down the empty lane. Soon, 4 o'clock, it was 3:30. Val left 2 bottles of water within reach and wrote her number on the back of a receipt. If nobody comes, you call. He'll come. Val did not argue. Call anyway if you need me, Evelyn promised. She opened windows, wiped the table with an old towel, and placed the crushed cupcakes in the center. She found matches but did not trust herself with the wood stove. The electricity worked in the main room, though the porch light flickered. 4 o'clock passed, then 5. Evelyn called Frank. The call failed. She walked to the edge of the porch, held the phone above her head, and got one bar long enough to hear his voicemail. At 6, the mountain air cooled. She took down the faded curtain and wrapped it around her shoulders. She ate half a sandwich and did not taste it. Every distant engine lifted her head. Every time the sound faded, the cabin seemed to grow larger behind her. At 7:12, a dark sedan appeared between the hemlocks. It stopped beside the woodpile. The driver in blue scrubs got out first and unfolded a walker. Frank emerged slowly behind him, a duffel over one shoulder and the old aluminum coffee pot swinging from his right hand. He saw Evelyn wrapped in the flowered curtain. His face opened. Then he laughed so hard he had to grab the car door. Evelyn rose too quickly, caught herself on the porch railing, and began laughing with him. By the time he reached the steps, she was crying. "You're late," she said. Tom moved the coffee pot. "You're 3 hours late because of a coffee pot? 2 hours because of the coffee pot. 1 because the driver got lost." Frank stopped below the broken step. Evelyn went down 1 level, and for a moment neither seemed to know how to cross the remaining distance with a walker, a cane, a duffel bag, an oxygen case, and 31 days of being told they were safer apart. Then Frank set the coffee pot on the porch. Evelyn let her cane fall. They held each other across the crooked railing, awkwardly, fiercely, laughing into one another's shoulders until neither could tell which of them was shaking. For several seconds, the railing took most of their weight. Frank smelled like unfamiliar soap and the peppermint candies he kept in his shirt pocket. His cheek felt thinner against Evelyn's. When she pulled back, she held his face between her hands and examined him beneath the porch light. "You lost weight. So did you. I had pneumonia. I had institutional chicken." The driver carried the duffel and walker up the steps, avoiding the rotten board. His name was Ben. Frank had apparently told him the entire situation during the drive, because Ben looked at Evelyn with the solemn concern of a man who knew too much about strangers. "Do you have somebody staying nearby?" he asked. "We have each other," Frank said. Ben looked at the broken step, the curtain around Evelyn's shoulders, and the dark cabin. "That wasn't what I asked." Evelyn liked him less than Val, and respected him more than she wanted to. "Our neighbor May lives half a mile down the road," she said. "We'll call her in the morning. You have service?" "Sometimes." Ben took out his phone. No bars. He walked to the edge of the lane, held it up, and shook his head. "I can wait while you check the place," he said. "We own it," Frank said. "That doesn't answer him," Evelyn said. Inside, Ben switched on every light that worked. He inspected the bathroom, opened the refrigerator, and tested the stove. One burner heated. The toilet tank was empty. The smoke detector chirped when he pressed its button, though the sound was weak and offended. "There's no water," he said. "We brought water." "Heat?" "Wood stove," Frank said. Ben looked at the stove, then at Frank's walker. "We're not using it tonight," Evelyn said. Frank opened his mouth. "We are not." He closed it. The driver wrote his dispatch number on the same receipt that held Val's number. "If you get a signal and need a return trip, call. There may not be anyone nearby until morning." "We understand," Frank said. Ben stood in the doorway, plainly unconvinced. Evelyn stepped closer. "Thank you for bringing him." Something in her voice persuaded him where their answers had not. He nodded, warned them about the porch step once more, and drove away. The sound of the sedan disappeared among the trees. Evelyn and Frank stood in the cabin's main room without touching. It was strange how quickly 31 days could make a familiar person unfamiliar. Frank's hair had been cut too short above his ears. A yellow bruise faded along his left forearm. He held his right shoulder slightly higher than before the fall. Evelyn wanted to ask about all of it at once. Frank looked at the oxygen case. "Nighttime only," she said. He nodded. She looked at the walker. "Long distances and unfamiliar ground," he said. She nodded. Neither believed the other had provided the full truth. Frank turned toward the table. "Are those cupcakes?" They were upright in Pittsburgh. "They've had a journey. So have we." The frosting had slid into one corner of the plastic container, leaving the cakes naked. Frank found 2 spoons in a drawer. Evelyn wiped them with bottled water, and they ate the frosting first. "Happy anniversary," Frank said. "Happy anniversary." 38. He touched his spoon to hers. The tiny click sounded absurdly formal in the dusty room. Evelyn pointed toward the coffee pot on the counter. You found it. Tom put it in a box marked garage. It was in the kitchen cabinet. Apparently it changed apartments. How did you get into the storage unit? I stood at the door and made him bring me boxes until I saw the right one. How many? 14, she laughed. He must have loved that. He used several words that weren't love. Frank unzipped the duffel. Beneath his green sweater and a stack of shirts lay a bundle of envelopes tied with kitchen string. Evelyn stopped smiling. He gave me 11, Frank said. How many did you get? 11. Good. You brought them. I thought they looked lonely. Evelyn fetched hers from the suitcase. They laid all 22 anniversary cards on the table, pairing years where they could. One envelope had been opened upside down. Another bore a coffee stain shaped like Florida. 27 is missing, Frank said. 27 was the card with the ship. No, that was 29. 29 was the dog with the dentures. That was your birthday. You gave me a denture joke for my birthday? You laughed. I was being kind. They argued until the cabin felt occupied again. Frank found a saucepan and poured bottled water into it. When he reached for the working burner, his hand stalled halfway. Not shook, stopped. His fingers remained curled around the handle, but his arm seemed disconnected from the decision to move. Evelyn watched without speaking. After several seconds, he exhaled through his nose and tried again. The saucepan moved forward. That? She asked. That. How often? Not much since they changed the pills. How often before? Frank set the pan down. Enough. She wanted to scold him. The words gathered, familiar and ready. Then she remembered lipstick before breakfast and the fever she had called a summer cold. Next time, tell me while it's happening, she said. What will you do? Stand here and annoy you. That could help. I have years of training. The water heated. Frank spooned coffee into the dented aluminum pot, and Evelyn steadied it while he poured. Neither commented on the arrangement. They drank from mismatched mugs at the table, their knees touching. At 8:30, Evelyn carried her phone to the porch. One bar appeared, vanished, then returned. She sent Karen a message. I arrived. Frank is here. We are safe for tonight. I will call in the morning. The message stalled before finally showing delivered. Karen called at once. Evelyn answered. I said I would call. You sent a text. The signal is poor. Put Frank on. He has his own daughter, mother. Evelyn had not heard that tone since Karen was 20 and discovered Evelyn planned to marry again. He arrived safely, Evelyn said. We have food, electricity, and bottled water. No running water, not tonight. Are you out of your mind? Possibly. Is Frank? He can hear you. Good. Frank, are you out of your mind? Frank called from inside. Reception's bad. Can't hear a thing. Evelyn covered a laugh. Karen did not. I'm coming. No, I can be there in 2 hours. It will be dark. You don't know the road well. And you've been working since dawn. I know the road. You missed the turn every summer for 15 years. That was before GPS. GPS sends people to the logging trail, then come back tonight. To where? My house. And Frank? A pause. Both of you? Karen said. It was the first time she had offered. Evelyn looked through the open door. Frank was placing the anniversary cards in chronological order. Thank you, she said. Not tonight. What do you need? The question held no command. Evelyn almost failed to recognize it. Tomorrow, she said. I'll know tomorrow. Karen breathed into the phone. Keep the oxygen on. I will. Lock the door. I will. And if you feel sick, I call. Promise? Yes. The call dropped before either said goodnight. Frank's phone rang next. Tom's name lit the screen. Frank let it ring. You should answer, Evelyn said. He'll yell. He learned that from my side. Frank answered and held the phone several inches from his ear. Tom's voice emerged clearly. What the hell are you doing, celebrating my anniversary? You left my house without telling me. I left a note. You said you were going to an appointment. I had an appointment. With Evelyn in the woods? Very exclusive practice. Dad, stop joking. Frank's face tightened. Stop calling me Dad when you mean patient. Evelyn looked away. Tom said something she could not hear. Frank listened, jaw working. No, he said. I am not coming back tonight. Another burst from Tom. No. Frank's free hand began to tremble. Evelyn reached across and laid her fingers over it. We'll call in the morning, Frank said. Good night. He ended the call. For a moment, they remained seated with their hands together. Tom thinks you talked me into it, Frank said. Karen thinks you talked me into it. Maybe May did it. May doesn't know we're here. That won't stop her from taking credit. The downstairs bed was covered with a canvas sheet and a layer of dust. They stripped it, wiped the frame, and found clean linens in the cedar chest beneath the window. The blankets smelled heavily of mothballs but were dry. The mattress sagged in the center. At least nobody donated this one, Frank said. Don't tell Karen. She'll send a truck. They made the bed slowly. Frank could not bend to tuck the far corner. Evelyn became breathless after shaking out the second blanket. They rested between tasks without pretending they were finished. By 10, the cabin had cooled. Evelyn put on the oxygen. Frank arranged his pill bottles on the nightstand and checked the labels twice. You want me to do the box tomorrow? She asked. I can do it. That wasn't the question. He considered. Yes. Good. They lay on top of the blankets at first, each turned toward the other. The bed was narrower than the one they had lost, and softer than either remembered. Frank touched the tubing beneath Evelyn's nose. Does it hurt? Only when people ask. He moved his hand to her hair. She traced the tendons on the back of his hand. Were you afraid I wouldn't come? No. Liar. Yes. I was afraid you wouldn't. I nearly didn't. Evelyn went still. Tom had the car blocked in with his truck, Frank said. Not on purpose. He was unloading groceries. I sat in the guest room thinking how easy it would be to let the driver leave. What changed? I saw the coffee pot. That foolish thing. That foolish thing has excellent timing. She moved closer until her forehead touched his. We can't live here, she whispered. I know. The bathroom's bad. There's no water. The nearest clinic I know. I needed to say it before morning. All right, we came to meet. We met. A floorboard creaked as the cabin cooled. Sometime after midnight, Frank needed the bathroom. His feet froze beside the bed. Evelyn sat with him in the dark until movement returned, then walked behind him with the flashlight. On the way back, her oxygen tube caught beneath the bedpost and pulled loose. They spent 5 minutes untangling themselves, whispering insults at the furniture so neither would admit how frightened they had been. In the morning, pounding shook the front door. Evelyn Hart, a woman shouted. If you're dead in there, I am going to be furious. Frank opened one eye. May. The door swung inward before either answered. May Larkin stood on the threshold, holding a thermos in one hand and a tire iron in the other. She was 68, compact and silver-haired, wearing mud boots beneath a flowered housecoat. She looked at the walker, the oxygen machine, the empty water bottles, and the two of them tangled in the sagging bed. Oh, you idiots, she said. Evelyn pushed herself upright. Good morning to you, too. May set down the tire iron. I saw the porch light from the lower road, she said. Thought somebody was breaking in. Turns out it was worse. Frank sat up carefully. We're fine. May pointed the thermos at him. You look like a folded lawn chair. Still charming. And you? She turned to Evelyn. Why are you wearing a curtain? It was cold. May closed her eyes briefly. I have a guest room. It has water, heat, and a door that doesn't need to be lifted by the knob. We're not imposing, Evelyn said. That wasn't an invitation you can decline. We need to check the pump. You need coffee. We have coffee. May lifted the aluminum pot, peered inside, and made a face. You have a misdemeanor? Frank looked offended. May poured 3 cups from her thermos and sat at the table among the anniversary cards. All right, she said. Tell me which child I'm angry at first. Both, Evelyn said. May took a long drink. Good, she said. That's simpler. May listened without interrupting, except to ask whether Karen had truly divided the anniversary cards and whether Tom had actually moved the coffee pot into a box marked garage. When Evelyn confirmed both, May said, People lose their minds around cardboard. Frank poured the last of May's coffee into his mug. You're taking this remarkably well. I have not begun taking it. May rose, opened the cabinet beneath the sink, and found a flashlight. She turned the faucet again, listened to the pipes knock, then crouched to inspect the shutoff valve. Pump breaker's in the crawl space, she said. I can get to it, Frank said. No, I've been under there 100 times, and on this historic morning, we shall preserve your record at 100. May stood and pointed toward Evelyn's suitcase. Pack whatever you unpacked. We didn't unpack, Evelyn said. For once, excellent judgment. They argued for 10 minutes. May ignored every objection. She carried the oxygen case to her truck, returned for the groceries, and assigned Frank the anniversary cards because they weighed almost nothing. Evelyn was permitted to carry the crushed cupcakes. May's house stood half a mile downhill, a white ranch with green shutters and a satellite dish tilted toward the trees. Her guest room held a double bed, 2 lamps, and a crocheted blanket in shades of brown that suggested an enduring hostility toward color. The bathroom was across the hall and had a walk-in shower with a plastic chair already inside. "My sister visits," May said. "She has a knee." "Only one?" Frank asked. "One worth discussing." May gave them fresh towels and left them alone. Evelyn sat on the edge of the bed. Frank lowered himself beside her. Their shoulders touched. "This mattress is better," he said. "Don't get attached. Karen may hear about it." He looked at his hands. "We made a mess. We made a point. We also made a mess." "Yes." Through the open window came the sound of May dragging something metal across her yard. Evelyn leaned against him. Was it worth it? Frank rested his cheek on her hair. "Ask me after a shower." May drove them back to the cabin after breakfast, though she made them remain on the porch while she checked the crawl space. She changed into coveralls and disappeared beneath the cabin with a wrench and several remarks about men who placed plumbing where only raccoons could appreciate it. The pump started with a deep shudder. Rust-colored water burst from the kitchen faucet, spat across the sink, and slowed to a thin stream. May emerged with cobwebs in her hair. "Pressure tank's bad. Pipe near the back wall is leaking. Don't drink any of that." "We weren't planning to," Evelyn said. "You plan to sleep here without water. Your planning has lost credibility." May examined the porch step next. She pressed a screwdriver into the wood, and half the edge crumbled. 2 steps need replacing, railings loose. Bathroom needs bars. You've got mildew in the bedroom corner. Frank's face tightened at the last item. Roof? Could be flashing. Could be the window. "I'll call Joel." "My therapist?" Evelyn asked. "Joel Mercer, carpenter. Around here, we only have 6 names and keep reusing them." Frank walked to the mildew stain. May stopped him with one hand against his chest. "I can look," he said. "You can look from here. I built half this room. And now, you own eyes. Use those." Evelyn waited for him to resist. Instead, after a moment, Frank stepped back. May noticed too, but did not praise him. That was another reason Evelyn trusted her. Her phone found a signal near the woodpile. 12 messages waited from Karen, 4 from Tom, and 1 from an unknown number that turned out to be the apartment manager on Braddock. Evelyn called Karen first. "Before you start," she said, "we are at May's house." Karen's breath rushed out. "Thank God." "The cabin needs repairs. I told you." "Yes." The answer silenced her daughter more effectively than an argument. Evelyn continued. "We are not moving into it today. We're staying with May while we make a plan. Give me the address. You've been there. I want the address written down." Evelyn gave it to her. "I'm coming," Karen said. "You don't need to. I'm already in the car." "Where?" "Near Donegal." Evelyn looked at the road. "You left before I called. I left at 6. "Karen, I waited until morning." There was something accusing and almost obedient in that sentence. "Drive carefully," Evelyn said. Tom arrived first. His silver pickup came down the lane too fast, scattering gravel. He braked near May's truck and climbed out before the dust settled. He wore a golf shirt tucked into khaki pants, and his face was flushed above the collar. Frank stood on the porch with his walker. Tom stopped when he saw him. "You all right?" "I'm fine. You look terrible. Good to see you too." Tom came up the steps, testing each one before placing his weight. He took hold of the loose railing, felt it move, and turned toward Evelyn as if she had personally loosened the screws. "This is what you brought him to?" "I did not bring him." "Then who arranged the car?" "I did," Frank said. Tom ignored him. "He froze twice Sunday." Frank's expression changed. "Once. You couldn't get out of the chair for 15 seconds. "You didn't tell me that," Evelyn said. Frank looked at her. "I'm telling you now." "No, Tom is. I was going to." "When?" Tom pointed at him. This is what I've been dealing with." Frank's face went still. Evelyn stepped down from the porch. "You are speaking as if your father isn't standing here. He doesn't tell the truth about what he can do. Neither did I. That doesn't improve it." "No. It explains why separating us didn't solve it. Tom looked from her to Frank. I never said you should be separated forever. How long? Evelyn asked. What? How long did you think was appropriate? Until you were stable. We are stable enough to ask. Tom rubbed both hands over his face. A month, maybe 2. And then? Reevaluate. That is not a destination, Frank said. That is a word people use when they want another month. Tom faced him. What do you expect me to do? Let you go back to that house? No. Let you take care of Evelyn when you can't move your own feet. Frank gripped the walker handles. I did not ask to be responsible for Evelyn, he said. I asked to live with my wife. What's the difference? The question landed harder than Tom intended. His face showed it. Before Frank could answer, Karen's van appeared on the lane. She parked behind Tom's pickup, got out carrying Evelyn's portable oxygen unit, and marched toward the porch. You left this plugged in beside the sofa. I have the small cylinder. That lasts 4 hours. I only use it at night. You're supposed to have backup. She set the unit down, saw Tom, and stopped. What are you doing here? Same thing you are. You told me Frank was staying with you. He was until he hired a medical car behind my back. You told me his medication wasn't stable. It isn't. Frank said, It is improved. Karen turned to Evelyn. And you said you weren't sure he was coming. I wasn't. So everybody lied to everybody. May came around the side of the cabin in her coveralls. Excellent. Now that we've identified the family hobby, who wants coffee? Nobody answered. May went inside anyway. Karen looked at the rotten step, the walker, Evelyn's cane, and the curtain still lying across the porch chair. You slept here, she said. One night. You promised you'd call if it was unsafe. I didn't know it was unsafe until we tried. That is why you inspect places before sleeping in them. We were busy finding each other, Frank said. Tom threw up his hands. You had telephones, which you kept answering, Evelyn said. I answered Dad's phone twice, and decided whether I could speak to him. He was asleep. Karen looked at Tom. You told me he wanted fewer calls because they upset his routine. Tom stared at her. You said she needed space. I said she needed rehabilitation. You said conversations with him made her breathing worse. I said arguing made her breathing worse. Evelyn felt something cold settle through her. Karen, her daughter, looked over. Did you tell Tom I wanted space from Frank? Karen's mouth opened, then closed. Did you? I said you needed to focus on recovering. That wasn't the question. Karen glanced toward Tom, perhaps hoping he would rescue her. He did not. Yes, she said. I said you might be better off with fewer calls for a while. Frank looked at Tom. And you told her I was settling in. You were doing better. That is not the same thing. No, but every time you two talked, you worked each other up about leaving. Imagine that, Frank said. Tom's face reddened. You want honesty? Fine, we were scared. We had 2 parents who refused to admit they were sick, a house that didn't work for either of them, doctors saying different things, and no place that could take you both immediately. So, we handled it. You divided it, Evelyn said. We divided the work. You divided us. Karen wrapped her arms around herself. We thought it was safer. For whom? Frank asked. Nobody answered. May returned carrying a tray with 5 mugs. I made one extra because anger is dehydrating. Tom refused his. Karen took hers automatically. They stood around the porch in the morning heat, holding coffee and looking everywhere except at one another. At last Tom said, What do you want? Frank looked at Evelyn. The old habit rose between them, Frank waiting because Evelyn organized words better, Evelyn answering because silence made her impatient. She stopped herself. Frank noticed. He took his time. We want a place together, he said, accessible, near medical care, ours to choose. We want help with what we need, not help disappearing from each other. And until you find it, Karen asked. We stay with May, Evelyn said. All 4 of them looked at May. May sipped her coffee. Apparently, you can't impose on her indefinitely, Tom said. I would never permit indefinite imposing, May replied. It ruins the guest towels. Karen rubbed her forehead. Come back with me, both of you. We'll figure it out from there. Your office has 1 sofa, Evelyn said. I'll make room. For Frank too? Yes. Tom turned. Dad's follow-up appointments are near me. We can drive him. We? Karen's eyes narrowed. Some of us solve problems before announcing them. And some of us pack other people's houses into labeled boxes. At least I showed up to pack. I arranged storage. In your name." Their voices rose. Evelyn watched them turn the marriage into logistics again, arguing over miles, rooms, appointments, and labor. Each believed love was proven by carrying the heavier end. Neither noticed what they kept dropping. "Stop," she said. They did not. Frank lifted the aluminum coffee pot and struck it once against the porch railing. The clang rang through the trees. Everyone went silent. "We are not going with either of you today," he said. His hand trembled around the handle, but his voice did not. Tom stared at him. Karen looked at Evelyn. May took the coffee pot gently away from Frank before he dented her railing. "Good," she said. "Now I have questions." She led Evelyn and Frank to her kitchen. Karen and Tom followed because neither knew what else to do. May placed a yellow legal pad on the table and drew a line down the center. On one side, she wrote "can do." On the other, "need help." "No speeches," she said. "No proving anything. Start with mornings." Evelyn looked at Frank. He looked back. "I can organize the pills," she said. "I can make breakfast," Frank said. "Can you carry coffee with the walker?" May asked. Frank frowned. "No," he said. May wrote it down. "I can't use stairs alone yet," Evelyn said. May wrote that too. "My feet freeze," Frank said. "Not every day." Another line. Evelyn glanced toward the doorway. Karen and Tom stood there listening, stripped for once of tasks to perform. "I get tired faster than I admit," Evelyn said. Frank touched the back of her hand. May kept writing. By the time the page was half full, the list did not look like defeat. It looked like the beginning of an address. May filled 3 pages before she allowed anyone to move. Frank could shower alone if the floor was level, and there were grab bars. Evelyn could drive, but not until she had gone 2 weeks without daytime oxygen and could turn her head comfortably. Frank could organize his own medication if alarms were set, though he admitted he dismissed alarms when they interrupted something interesting. Evelyn could cook, but carrying a full pot made her chest ache. Neither should climb ladders. Neither should pretend a cane was optional because it clashed with an outfit. Under need help, May wrote transportation, heavy cleaning, bathroom modifications, medication setup, emergency contact, winter snow, and carrying coffee. "Coffee gets its own line?" Karen asked. "It caused concern," May said. Tom stood behind Frank's chair. "I can handle transportation to neurology." Frank looked up. "If it's offered, I just offered. You announced. What's the difference? You ask which appointments I want you at." Tom shoved his hands into his pockets. "Fine. Do you want me to drive you Thursday?" "Yes." Tom nodded once. Karen sat across from Evelyn. "I can help you find a doctor near here." "Near here?" Evelyn asked. "If that's what you choose." It was a small sentence. Evelyn did not reward it with too much attention. May drew another line across the bottom of the page. "Now money." Tom shifted. Karen reached automatically for her purse. "Not your money," May said. "Theirs." Evelyn gave May a warning look. May ignored it. "Can you afford an apartment, repairs at the cabin, and paid help?" "We have retirement income," Evelyn said. "And savings. How much help?" "We don't know." "Then you don't know if you can afford it." Frank leaned toward the legal pad. "What does an aide cost?" "Depends what you ask them to do." "I can find out," Karen said. May looked at Evelyn. Evelyn nodded. "Please." Karen wrote it in her phone. For the first time since the kitchen floor, a task entered the room without becoming control. Tom left before lunch to return to work. At the door, he asked Frank again whether he wanted to come back with him. "No." "You need the Thursday appointment?" "I said I'd go with you Thursday. That means I drive all the way here, then back to Pittsburgh, then bring you here again." "Yes." Tom gave a disbelieving laugh. "That's 4 hours. You said you could handle transportation. I thought you'd be at my house." "Then you offered your house, not transportation." Tom stared at him. Frank's voice softened. "If it's too much, say it's too much." Tom looked toward the yard. "I can do it." "Thank you." The words seemed to disturb Tom more than an argument would have. He nodded to Evelyn, thanked May for the coffee, and walked to his pickup. Karen stayed. She helped May change the sheets in the guest room, drove into town for Frank's prescription, and called 3 home care agencies. She did all of it with the clipped silence of a person trying to obey rules she had not written. By late afternoon, she had prices. 3 mornings a week, 2 hours each would be around $600 a month, she said. More if you need weekends. Frank whistled. Still less than 2 facility rooms, Evelyn said. Much less, Karen admitted. And the apartment? May, chopping celery at the counter, said. Call Laurel Ridge. Karen searched the name. It says 55 plus. We're both over 55, Frank said. I believe they'll demand proof, Evelyn told him. May pointed with the knife. First floor, clinic shuttle twice a week, grocery store across the road. Not fancy. Available? Evelyn asked. Ask June. June, the manager, had one accessible apartment scheduled to open in 5 weeks. The current tenant had already given notice, but repairs and painting would take time. There were 2 other applicants. Can we tour it? Evelyn asked. The occupied unit? No. But I can show you an empty second-floor apartment with the same layout. Does the building have an elevator? It does. They made an appointment for the next morning. Karen set down the phone. 5 weeks is a long time to stay with May. May tasted the celery. That sounds like a complaint from someone who does not live here. I meant for May. May can speak. Evelyn said, We'll pay you. May turned. No, we are not staying 5 weeks for free. You won't stay 5 weeks. Karen looked alarmed. Why not? Because the cabin can be made safe enough for daytime use, and my sister's coming in 3 weeks with her knee. Frank began to laugh. May pointed the knife at him. You find her anatomy delightful now? Wait until she explains it. They toured Laurel Ridge the following day in May's truck. Karen returned to Pittsburgh after breakfast, leaving the portable oxygen unit and 2 bags of groceries behind. The apartment smelled of fresh paint and somebody else's cinnamon air freshener. It had 1 bedroom, a bathroom with grab bars, and a kitchen small enough that Evelyn could touch the stove and refrigerator without taking a full step. The balcony overlooked the pharmacy parking lot and a strip of mountains beyond the highway. Frank tested every doorway with his walker. Evelyn opened every cabinet. May sat in the living room and criticized the carpet. It hides dirt, June said. It creates dirt, May replied. The rent was $680 more than their old house. Utilities were lower. The clinic shuttle cost $4 per ride. The home care agency could send someone Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. Adding everything together made Evelyn's stomach tighten. Frank studied the figures on her notepad. We can do it. If nothing breaks, something always breaks. The cabin roof needs work. We have emergency savings. That is for emergencies. He looked around the empty living room. What do you call this? Evelyn followed his gaze. The walls were bland, the carpet was ugly, their bed was gone. Most of their life sat in a storage unit under Tom's name. She imagined the anniversary cards on a shelf, the aluminum coffee pot above the stove, Frank's green sweater over the back of a chair. An expensive answer, she said. Most good answers are. They paid the application fee, but not a deposit. June told them she would call after processing the applications. No favors because May knows you, Evelyn said. June glanced at May. Knowing May has never felt like a favor. On the way back, Frank froze beside the truck. His right foot stopped near the curb. His body tilted forward, ready to move, but the foot remained planted. Evelyn reached for his arm. Don't pull, he said. She withdrew her hand. May stood on the other side without touching him. Take your time. A car waited behind them. The driver tapped the horn. May turned and stared until the driver backed up. Frank shifted his weight, rocked once, and stepped. The movement returned as suddenly as it had left. He climbed into the truck, breathing hard. Evelyn sat beside him. You all right? She asked. No. It was the first time he had answered honestly. She put her hand over his. I hate that, he said. I know. I hate you seeing it. I know. He watched the pharmacy sign through the windshield. Tom sees that and thinks it's the only thing about me. Karen sees this. Evelyn touched the tender place beneath her ribs. Then they both start arranging furniture. What do you see? She looked at his hand under hers. A man who needs to stop carrying coffee. He laughed reluctantly. When they reached May's, Joel Mercer was waiting at the cabin in a dented red work van. He was 60, lean and sun-browned, with a carpenter's pencil tucked into his cap. He had already removed the rotten porch boards. Frank's face tightened. You started without me. May climbed out of the truck. That's why the boards are off. Joel greeted Frank as if they had spoken yesterday. May says you built the porch, most of it. You put the joist 16 on center, 12. Snow load. Joel crouched and measured. 12. Frank moved closer with his walker. The back corner holds water. Pitch is wrong, I saw. Flashing around the bedroom window is probably where the mildew came from. Joel nodded. That's my guess. For the next hour, Frank remained on the ground while Joel worked. He handed up screws, explained where the old wiring ran, and objected to composite decking on aesthetic grounds. He did not climb the ladder. Evelyn sat in the porch chair and watched him discover that knowing how was still useful, even when doing was not possible. Her phone rang. Karen's catering company appeared on the screen. She answered. One of Karen's employees said, "Sorry to bother you, Mrs. Hart, but Karen's with a client. We have a payment entered twice and can't close the event account." Evelyn looked toward Frank and Joel. "What did Karen tell you to do?" she asked. She said, "Use our judgment, then use it." The employee hesitated. "You normally fix these." "Not anymore." "Should we wait for Karen? That sounds like your judgment." Evelyn ended the call. 10 minutes later, Frank's phone rang. Tom stood near a furnace at one of his rental properties. The pilot would not stay lit. "What model?" Frank asked. Tom told him. "Call a licensed technician." I did. "Earliest is tomorrow. Then buy space heaters for tonight." "You could tell me what to check." "I could. But you'll turn off the wrong valve, blame my instructions, and call me at midnight." Tom protested. Frank gave him Joel's number, then added, "Ask if he's available. Don't tell him I volunteered him." Joel, on the ladder, lifted a thumb. Frank ended the call. Evelyn smiled. "How does it feel?" "Expensive. That's what good answers are." By the end of the week, the cabin had safe steps, a firm railing, and a repaired leak. The pump still needed replacement, and the bathroom remained too narrow for Frank's walker. They spent their days there and their nights at Mays, learning the route between independence and help. Karen called each evening without offering solutions unless asked. Tom did not call for 3 days. When he finally did, he spoke to Frank for 4 minutes about the weather, 2 about the furnace, and 1 about nothing at all. Afterward, Frank sat on May's porch with the silent phone in his lap. "What did he want?" Evelyn asked. "I think he wanted to call." That night, June from Laurel Ridge left a message. The apartment was theirs if they still wanted it. Evelyn replayed the message once, then handed the phone to Frank. He listened. Neither celebrated immediately. They sat at May's kitchen table with the can-do and need-help lists between them, understanding that a home was not the place where they needed nobody. It was the place where they could decide whom to need. Evelyn called June back before either of them could invent a reason to hesitate. "Yes," she said, "we still want it." June explained the deposit, the lease date, and the building's rules about balcony furniture. Evelyn wrote everything down. Frank leaned close enough to hear, though he nodded at the wrong moments and once whispered, "Ask about fish," while June was describing trash pickup. "What fish?" Evelyn covered the phone. "Aquarium. We don't own fish. We might. We are not beginning a new responsibility that dies if we forget flakes." June waited politely. "No aquarium," Evelyn told her. "I didn't ask," June said. "They paid the deposit from savings." Evelyn stared at the confirmation number after the call ended. It was an ordinary number, 9 digits long, but it made her feel more married than any anniversary card on the table. May opened a bottle of wine that evening. Frank was allowed half a glass because of his medication. He measured the amount with such resentment that May added another teaspoon. "To Laurel Ridge," she said. "To May getting her guest room back," Evelyn added. "To the fish we'll never have," Frank said. The 5 weeks did not pass quickly. The cabin pump had to be replaced. The mildew required part of the bedroom wall to be opened, which revealed wet insulation, but no larger disaster. Joel repaired the flashing and installed grab bars in the bathroom, though the doorway remained narrow. Frank wanted it widened. The estimate changed his mind. "We can leave the walker outside and use the cane in there," he said. "If your therapist approves," Evelyn replied. "You've become bureaucratic. I've become interested in indoor plumbing." They agreed the cabin would remain a daytime retreat, an occasional overnight place when they had support nearby. It would not be their proof of invulnerability. That decision disappointed Frank for an afternoon and relieved him every morning afterward. At Mays, they developed new habits. Evelyn filled Frank's pill organizer on Sunday while he read each bottle aloud. Frank carried nothing hot while using the walker. May placed a stool near the kitchen counter so Evelyn could sit while chopping vegetables. When either of them said, "I'm fine," May asked for a more useful answer. Karen found a home care agency with an aide available 3 mornings a week. Her name was Patrice, she was 58. And on the telephone she asked Frank whether he wanted assistance bathing. No, Frank said. Medication? Possibly. Laundry? We can do laundry. Can you carry a basket? Frank looked at Evelyn. Not with the walker, he admitted. Then laundry, Patrice said. She spoke as if his answer were information rather than failure. Karen also hired an accountant. She announced it during a visit to the cabin, placing the 2 catering binders on the repaired porch table. Her name is Sheila, she said. She charges by the hour and does not accept menus as financial records. I like her already, Evelyn said. She found the remaining $412. Where? I paid a linen deposit twice. You did that last year, too. I know. Karen looked at the binders. She needs to understand how the old events were categorized. Then explain it. I tried. And? I apparently understand my filing system less than the person who built it. Evelyn waited. Karen took a breath. Would you meet with her once? I'll pay you. The offer pleased Evelyn more than she wished it did. Not because of the money, because Karen had finally placed a boundary around the request. 1 meeting, Evelyn said. 2 hours. 3. 2. Fine. And after that, she calls you. Karen nodded. They met at Karen's kitchen the following Tuesday. Sheila arrived carrying a laptop and left with both binders, a written index, and Evelyn's assurance that no, she would not be available during tax season. Karen walked Evelyn to the van afterward. I didn't know how much you were doing, she said. You didn't ask. I thought you liked it. I did like parts of it. That's why I thought liking work does not make it free forever. Karen rubbed a spot on the van door where the green lettering had begun to peel. I'm sorry. For the books? For putting you near me because I was scared to have you far away. For telling Tom you needed space. For packing the house before you had somewhere else. Evelyn looked at her daughter. Karen's apology had no defense folded inside it. That made it difficult to answer quickly. You were trying to save me, Evelyn said. I was trying to stop feeling afraid. Yes. I don't know how to fix what I did. You don't fix it once. Karen swallowed. I know. Evelyn touched her arm. Start by driving me back to my husband. Karen did. Tom's change came less cleanly. He arrived at May's one Saturday with the storage contract, the access code, and a complaint about the monthly fee. Lease starts in 10 days, he said. We need to decide what's going to the apartment, what's going to the cabin, and what you're getting rid of. We're getting rid of, Evelyn asked. Tom corrected himself. What you decide to get rid of. They drove to the storage facility in 2 vehicles. The unit stood at the end of a concrete hallway under fluorescent lights that flickered every few seconds. Tom rolled up the metal door. Their old house waited in pieces. The couch stood on one end behind the dining chairs. Frank's workbench had been dismantled. Boxes filled the space from floor to ceiling, their labels facing outward. Evelyn, bedroom, Frank, bedroom, Evelyn, photos, Frank, tools, shared, kitchen, miscellaneous, shared, maybe, cabin. Evelyn walked in slowly. The place smelled of cardboard and furniture polish. She found the ceramic frog from the kitchen table wrapped in newspaper. Both broken halves placed together in a plastic bag. I thought this was thrown away. Karen behind her said, I kept it. Why? I didn't know. Frank opened the box marked Frank Tools. On top lay his screwdrivers, each wrapped individually. Beneath them were Evelyn's sewing scissors. These are hers, he said. Tom frowned. They were on your workbench. She used them to cut gasket material. Evelyn opened Evelyn. Photos. The first album contained pictures of Tom's college graduation. This one is his, Karen said. It was on your bookshelf. They were all on our bookshelf, Evelyn said. The labels became ridiculous within minutes. Karen's serving platter sat with Frank's fishing gear because he had repaired its cracked handle. Tom's old coffee mug was packed with Evelyn's recipe books. The Christmas lights were labeled shared, though Frank insisted every tangled string was personally his. Tom grew quieter as they opened boxes. At the back of the unit, behind the headboard, he found a carton marked Hall Closet, later. Inside were more anniversary cards, cabin maps, utility bills, and a stack of photographs held together with a rubber band. Frank lifted the cards. 27. The card showed a ship. Evelyn turned it over. 29 was the ship. Frank found the handwritten date, 27. The dog with the dentures was 29? Your birthday. Karen began laughing. Evelyn tried not to, failed, and soon all three of them were laughing except Tom. He stood beside the open carton, looking at the labels around him. "You told us to pack fast," he said. Frank's smile faded. "We did. You said storage. You said don't throw things out. We didn't. We know." "Then why does everything I did become evidence against me?" Frank set the cards down. "Because you decided what our life meant while you packed it. I put things in boxes. You put me in one too." Tom's jaw tightened. "You make it sound like I wanted you gone, didn't you?" "No. You wanted me near you without Evelyn. I wanted you safe. And her? She had Karen." Evelyn watched Frank absorb the answer. Tom rubbed the back of his neck. "You two always had each other." "Everybody knew that." "That's not the same as respecting it," Evelyn said. He looked at her. "You want honesty? I spent 38 years feeling like Dad had a new family where everything worked. Your house, your holidays, your traditions. Then whenever something broke in my life, he came running, because fixing things was the part of him I still got." Frank lowered himself onto one of the dining chairs. Tom looked immediately guilty. "Dad, no. Finish." "I don't know how." Frank examined his hands. "I taught you that needing me was how to love me." Tom's face folded slightly. "I came every time," Frank continued, "even when I shouldn't, especially when I shouldn't. Then I resented you for asking. You could have said no. I'm saying it now." Tom turned away. No one rescued the conversation. After a while, Karen picked up the marker and crossed out Evelyn and Frank on the nearest boxes. She wrote hearts across each label. Tom watched her. Then he took the marker and changed the others. They spent the afternoon choosing what would fit in the apartment. The couch was too large. The dining table went to the cabin. Frank kept half his tools and gave the rest to Joel, who promised to let him borrow anything he had foolishly surrendered. Evelyn kept all the photographs. When they reached the headboard, the empty space where the mattress should have been silenced them. Karen touched the wood. "I'm sorry about the bed." Frank ran his hand along one post. "It was a terrible mattress." "It was not," Evelyn said. "It sagged. You sag." Tom laughed before he could stop himself. The moving truck arrived 10 days later. At Laurel Ridge, boxes filled the living room, all labeled hearts. Patrice came the first morning and reorganized the laundry shelf without asking, then put it back when Evelyn objected. Frank's clinic shuttle was late. The bedroom smelled of new carpet, and the new mattress felt too firm. Nothing fit quite right. That first night, Evelyn woke and reached across the unfamiliar bed. Frank's hand met hers in the dark. Neither spoke. They had an address again. What remained was to learn how to live inside it. At 5:30, Frank's medication alarm played 3 bright notes from the nightstand. He opened one eye, reached across Evelyn, and knocked the phone onto the floor. The notes continued beneath the bed. "I chose that sound because it was pleasant," Evelyn said. "It has become less pleasant. You've heard it once." I formed an opinion. He tried to lean over the edge. His body stiffened halfway. "Wait," he said. Evelyn waited. The alarm repeated. Frank breathed, rocked his shoulders once, and sat upright. He used the walker to stand, then bent carefully and retrieved the phone. "Did you take the pill?" Evelyn asked. "I am holding the alarm." That was not the question. He opened the organizer. Monday morning was empty. "Yes." "Good. Now you." "My alarm isn't until 7. I mean, breathe. I am breathing." "Usefully." She drew a deep breath. No pain, only tightness. Useful enough. It was an awkward beginning to their first morning at Laurel Ridge. It was also honest. By the end of the second week, the apartment began to look less like a place where strangers had delivered their possessions. The anniversary cards stood in 2 rows along the living room shelf. Frank mounted a narrow rack for the tools he had kept, with Joel doing the drilling while Frank measured. Evelyn placed the repaired halves of the ceramic frog on the kitchen windowsill. It could no longer hold toothpicks, but its expression remained cheerful. Patrice arrived Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8. She was unimpressed by both charm and argument. On her first laundry day, Frank followed her to the utility room to demonstrate the proper way to fold his work shirts. Patrice handed him a shirt. "Show me." His fingers struggled with the buttons, and the fabric slid from his lap twice. He finished eventually, one sleeve longer than the other. Patrice placed it in his drawer exactly that way. On Wednesday, Frank asked her to fold the shirts. Evelyn learned the same lesson with the stove. Carrying a pot from burner to sink left her winded. Patrice suggested a lightweight kettle and a rolling cart. "We are not serving tea from hospital equipment," Evelyn said. "It's a kitchen cart. It has wheels. So does your husband." Frank, passing with his walker, said, "I object to the comparison." Patrice ordered the cart. It arrived in red. Evelyn kept it. They paid their own bills, scheduled their own appointments, and kept a calendar on the refrigerator. Karen had access to the emergency numbers, but not the calendar. Tom drove Frank to neurology when asked, and waited in the lobby because Frank did not invite him into the examination room. Afterward, Tom said, "Everything okay? Medication stays the same. That's it?" "That's what the doctor said." Tom looked frustrated, then caught himself. "Do you want to tell me more?" "No." "All right." 2 days later, he called Frank merely to ask whether the clinic shuttle was reliable. He did not mention a broken appliance. Karen's catering company survived Sheila's hourly rate. Its profit narrowed, but the books closed on time. When Karen discovered that she had been undercharging for equipment cleanup, Sheila raised the fee and recovered more in a month than she cost. "You would have found that," Karen told Evelyn over coffee. "I did find it. I mentioned it last winter." "You did?" "Twice." Karen laughed, embarrassed. "Sheila puts things in red boxes. I should have used red boxes." "No, I should have listened without making you responsible for whether I did." Evelyn let the sentence rest. Karen was learning to apologize in pieces. It suited them better than one large, polished speech. The cabin repairs ended before the leaves turned. The new pump worked. The porch no longer shifted beneath Frank's walker. Joel replaced the bedroom drywall but left the boards unpainted because Evelyn wanted to choose the color. Frank suggested beige. Evelyn threatened to return him to Tom. The bathroom doorway remained narrow. The kitchen floor sloped toward the sink, and cell service required standing near the woodpile. The cabin was not transformed into something it had never been. It was simply safe enough for days, supper, and an occasional mild weather night when May knew they were there. Evelyn began planning a belated anniversary dinner. "Belated by 2 months?" Frank asked. The first one had crushed cupcakes. They were excellent. You ate frosting with a spoon while wearing one shoe. I was comfortable. She made a guest list at the kitchen table. May, Joel Mercer, Patrice, Karen. Frank watched her pen stop. "Tom?" he asked. "He hasn't apologized. He changed the labels. He corrected cardboard. He drove me to 3 appointments. That is transportation. It was on the list." Frank turned one anniversary card over in his hands. "He doesn't know how to say it. He sells industrial pumps. Surely the industry uses words." "I'm not defending him." "Yes, you are. I'm explaining." Evelyn looked at him. Frank smiled reluctantly. Apparently that is hereditary. She left Tom's name off the list. Karen offered to cater the dinner. "No," Evelyn said. "I can do roast chicken, potatoes, 2 salads. You can bring a pie." "A pie? 1. For how many people?" 8, possibly 9. "What size?" "The size people recognize as pie." Karen frowned. "Can I bring whipped cream?" "That would be 2 items." "Whipped cream is an accessory. 1 pie and its accessories." Karen wrote it down as if Evelyn had issued a contract. Loretta accepted the invitation by telephone. She had returned to her apartment after rehabilitation and could manage the trip if May picked her up halfway. "Is your husband still alive?" she asked. "He's installing a cup holder on his walker." "Good. Mine remains dead and useless with spiders." Nina was working that evening, but promised to come by the apartment another day. She made Evelyn swear not to use the cabin dinner as an excuse to stop carrying backup oxygen. The week before the supper, Tom called Evelyn, not Frank, Evelyn. She watched his name on the phone through 4 rings before answering. "Hello, Tom." "Hi." He cleared his throat. "Dad says you're having dinner at the cabin." "Frank." "What?" "You can call him Frank when you're speaking to me. Dad when you're speaking to him." "Right. Frank says you're having dinner." "We are." Another silence. "Am I invited?" he asked. The question mattered because he could have assumed. He could have asked Frank to overrule her. He could have appeared with a toolbox and called it helping. "You may come," Evelyn said. "May?" That was the verb I selected. "All right." 5 o'clock. Can I come earlier? Why? The sign over the porch is pulling away on one side. I noticed it when we were there. Joel can fix it. I know. Evelyn looked toward Frank, who sat in the living room pretending not to listen. Ask your father, she said. Tom arrived at the cabin at 3 with a drill, a ladder, and the ceramic frog. It had been glued together along the broken middle. The seam was crooked and a cloudy fingerprint had dried near one eye. Fresh toothpicks stuck from its back. I found the other piece in the newspaper, Tom said. The glue said ceramic. Evelyn took it from him. You repaired it badly. Yes? Thank you. Tom looked relieved. Frank was on the porch with his walker. Tom lifted the ladder from the truck but did not unfold it. Want me to fix the sign? He asked. Frank examined the loose bracket. Use the shorter screws, he said. Wiring runs behind the left side. Tom found 2 screws in the toolbox. These? The other ones. They're the same length. One's a wood screw. Tom held them closer. Which one? Frank rolled his walker forward and pointed. Tom climbed. Frank remained below, one hand resting on the porch railing. He did not try to take the drill. He did not warn Tom about every movement. When the bracket was secure, Tom started to straighten the crooked sign. Leave it, Frank said. It's off by half an inch. Leave it. Tom looked at the words, Heart's Rest. The apostrophe's wrong, too. Frank glanced at Evelyn. Artistic. Tom climbed down. They stood near the ladder without speaking. Evelyn carried the frog inside and set it beside the aluminum coffee pot. Through the window, she saw Tom put both hands in his pockets. I owe you an apology, he said. Frank waited. Tom looked toward the trees. I kept trying to find a version that explained why I did it. I know, but every explanation sounded like I was asking you to tell me it was okay. Frank's grip tightened on the walker handle. It wasn't okay, Tom said. I treated your marriage like a scheduling problem. I thought, because you needed care, the rest of your choices became negotiable. Frank lowered his head. Tom continued. And I've been blaming Evelyn for 38 years because it was easier than admitting I was angry at you. Frank looked up. For leaving your old life? He asked. For being happier in the new one. The words left both men exposed. Evelyn stepped away from the window. The rest did not belong to her, simply because it concerned her. She went to the kitchen and arranged plates. May arrived with Loretta and 3 bottles of wine, though she claimed one was for replacing what they had consumed during the emergency. Patrice brought collard greens without asking permission. Joel brought a folding ramp for the threshold and refused payment until Frank threatened to report him to his wife. Karen came last, carrying 1 apple pie, whipped cream, vanilla ice cream, and caramel sauce. Accessories, she said, before Evelyn could object. They ate on the porch as the light softened over the mountains. The table was the one from the old house, scarred near Frank's place where he had once dropped a hot pan. The chairs did not match. May complained about Karen's pie crust, then took a second piece. Loretta asked Tom whether he was the one who had separated the anniversary cards. Tom said, Yes, ma'am. Stupid thing to do. Yes, ma'am? Karen lifted her wine. I helped. Also stupid. Yes, ma'am. Evelyn laughed until she had to stop and catch her breath. Nobody reached for the oxygen. Nobody told her to calm down. They waited. When her breathing settled, Frank touched his glass to hers. After supper, Tom and Karen carried dishes into the kitchen. Evelyn heard them arguing quietly about whether the caramel sauce required refrigeration. It was an ordinary sibling argument, blessedly useless. May took Loretta home before dark. Patrice left with Joel after extracting a promise that Frank would not sleep at the cabin without his walker beside the bed. At last, only Evelyn, Frank, Karen, and Tom remained. Karen stood near the porch steps with her keys. Do you want to ride back to Laurel Ridge? Evelyn looked at Frank. He looked tired. So did she. They had planned to stay the night, but the temperature was dropping faster than forecast, and her chest had begun to tighten. Old Evelyn would have hidden it. Old Frank would have insisted on carrying wood. We want to ride, Evelyn said. Both of us. Karen nodded. Okay, no triumph. No, I told you so. Tom folded the walker and placed it in the van. Karen carried the oxygen unit. Neither touched Evelyn or Frank until asked. Before leaving, Evelyn returned to the porch for her cane. The washed curtain hung inside the front window, its faded flowers glowing yellow beneath the lamp. The anniversary cards lined the mantel. The repaired ceramic frog sat beside the old coffee pot, holding toothpicks again, despite the crooked seam. Frank came up behind her. "Ready?" he asked. She slipped her hand through his arm. "Now I am." Together they turned off the porch light and walked down the repaired steps, where their children were waiting to take them home.